Today's February 23rd.
Alaska Aces.
There's another meeting going on. It's February the 23rd, our delayed GBOS regular monthly meeting. Girdwood Supervisors, subject to the Alaska Open Meetings Act, as found in Alaska Statute 44.62.310 and Alaska Municipal Code 1.25 public meetings. Girdwood Board of Supervisors operates under the Girdwood Public Meeting Standard of Conduct. Call the meeting to order at 7:01. And acknowledgement. Would you like to do that?
I'll do it. The Girdwood Board of Supervisors acknowledges the indigenous peoples of Alaska whose land we reside on. The community of Girdwood is situated between the areas known to be Dena'ina and Aluptic homeland, respects the people who are of this land for generations. We commit to the continued stewardship of this land and are grateful to be a part of a wider community that seeks to maintain a sustainable use of Girdwood Valley for present and future peoples.
Thank you. Kyle, could we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Kelly?
Here.
Brian?
Online and present.
Brianna?
Present.
Jennifer?
Present.
And Mike?
Present. Assume we have a quorum.
Oops.
Okay, roll call and announcements. Public is encouraged to ask questions and provide comment. Please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. To help discussions stay productive, please direct your comments to the board rather than other members of the public. Keep your comment focused on the business under discussion and please be respectful of everyone's opinions. We have a couple of upcoming meetings that are to be scheduled. Let's dive straight into the agenda revision and approval. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? Any concerns? I'll do it by consent unless I hear otherwise. Okay, not hearing any objections. Tonight's agenda is approved. Minutes approval. I will entertain a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Move to approve both sets of minutes that are listed here for January 26th, 2 meetings.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any concerns or discussion? Okay, I'll do this by assent. Not hearing any objections. Minutes are approved. There is nothing on the consent agenda. So let's jump straight into the legislative report. I see Senator Giesel here. I know Representative later. So Senator, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Sorry, usually you take longer to get to us and I was chewing. But thanks for
efficient tonight.
Yes, I see that. Whoa, I'll be really fast. The big thing, of course, that we're wrestling with is the budget. We have a supplemental budget. That means these are expenditures that were made and didn't have sufficient funding in them. It amounts to about $450 million. In order to pay for this, we have to go into the savings account. At this point, the House minority is reluctant to do that. They're declining to fund the supplemental budget. These are all things that are the governor's asks. They are things that either he vetoed in the regular budget and he realizes now he needs, or overspending, for example, on wildfire mitigation and also the many disasters we've had. So you will see a bunch of arm wrestling over that this week. The other issue that we're dealing with a lot is the gas pipeline. Just had a hearing on that this afternoon in Senate Resources. Quite a bit of unknowns related to that and management issues that we are not able to see. We're not able to see any of the fiscals for this project, which is very different than previous projects. So we have concerns about the fiscals of that. One of the things in the budget that we do want to address as soon as possible is $70 million that the governor vetoed that would have matched $700 million in federal money for our roads. That is in a fast track supplemental that, again, the House minority is reluctant to fund. So when the bill comes over to the Senate, it won't have the funding required from the Constitutional Budget Reserve, which is our savings account. So that's kind of the highlights of what we're kind of wrestling with right now. Happy to take questions.
Hey, any questions from the board? Not seeing any. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And it was very quick. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Okay, we will move on to Assembly. I do not see there are Assembly members on at the moment. School Board, Andy Holloway. Chill.
Yeah, thank you very much. Not too much different than a month ago. You will see a levy on the ballot in April for a special assessment that would go to ASD to raise about $8 million. We will use all of that for classroom instruction. Student or class sizes will be going up. Passage of this will help keep them from going up further. The net result of it is about $25 per 100,000 evaluation. So if you're in that mythical $400,000 house, it would be a little over $100. And it is just a one-time event. What's happened is the rise in the overall valuation of property in Anchorage has increased the mandatory requirement from Anchorage. That has created some space to do more under the equity formula that the state of Alaska is under, but it would run past the tax cap if Anchorage did that contribution. So it does require a vote from people to be able to do that. The overall shortfall is $90 million. And I want to emphasize again, that's not a shortfall in this year. We're on budget as we projected. But if we were to try to do the same programs, same class sizes next year as we're doing this year, we would be about $90 million short. So this is us making the adjustments to stay inside of that amount. The cuts are severe. There is an amendment coming from to the proposed administration budget that would restore middle school sports and most of the high school sports. It would mitigate class size a little bit. It does involve closing Fire Lake, Campbell Elementary, and Lake Otis Elementary. It moves Rilke Shula to the Lake Otis building, and we would give the Abbott Loop building back to the municipality, as well as the Campbell building. Both of those have substantial capital needs for millions of dollars, and that helps in our long-term maintenance issues. The other item that will be on there is the usual bond package. If it passes, we'll be able to complete the secure vestibule entrances at the last of our elementary schools. There is some money in there for planning and future renovations at other buildings, as well as beginning the process of converting the whole Anchorage School District from key locks to card lock systems, which takes some upfront money, but in the long run, it improves security quite a bit and cuts cost a whole lot, as a lost security card can be disabled immediately and locks changed to accommodate that, where right now it just doesn't happen that fast and it does cost quite a bit of money. There is a special meeting on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. There's no additional testimony allowed. You can submit written testimony through tonight, as well as you can always email the school board up until the last moment. And that address is schoolboard@asdk12.org if you have any input or thoughts on it. I don't see too much that directly impacts the Girdwood community out of this, except that it does involve staffing cuts all across the district. And I apologize, off the top of my head, I'm not sure if Girdwood School is slated, but it potentially could lose an FTE. That's I hate to call them highlights. I'll call them lowlights. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to take them.
Questions from the board? Okay, I've got one question. I saw quite a lot of discussion about school nurse programs, about the impact on that. Can you say something about, because I'm sure that will affect.
I can. I should have included that one. We would be reducing our nursing staff by about 25. Right now, it's closer to 90 in that range because our general effort is to have one full-time nurse in a building every day. This would take us off of that to what is being referred to as a regional model. And it would vary in that the schools have quite a different workload depending on who's attending the buildings. Quite possibly Girdwood would wind up still with a full-time nurse because the practicality of someone driving down there for part of a day just doesn't make any sense. But it is the case that they will float around. A certain amount of what they do is scheduled, but it will mean that there'll be a certain amount of time each day that a lot of our schools won't have a nurse on duty.
Thank you. Brian.
Superintendent Holman, thanks for being at our meetings
Mhm.
time and time again. I noticed that the Lake Otis Elementary School was on the Anchorage School District bond ask. And are you saying that if the school gets slated for closure, that bond ask specifically for the school is going to go away and will reduce the overall bond ask for the school district?
In that case, no, because the neighborhood school would go away and be combined into a couple of other buildings. And that is not so much about saving money as it is putting the right number of students in each building to where we can schedule more effectively, have our specialist on hand on a more full-time basis, and things like that. The building would become occupied by Rilke Schule, the German immersion program, and again, an ASD school with ASD students. The plans for that building would move ahead. They would be vacating out of the old Abbott Loop Elementary building that was closed several years ago as a neighborhood school. That school also does need a lot of capital work, and there are actually some bonds approved for it. That would not be done. The building would be handed back to the municipality, although they could ask us for demolition money or some sort of improvements, but they generally have cooperated really well with the school district on stuff like that. So, at the time, we didn't know that we would be closing as a neighborhood school, but it will still be actually full of more ASD students if this plan goes through. So we would be repairing it.
Thank you for that answer.
Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, thank you very much, Chair Holloman.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a good meeting.
And thanks for coming again. Bye.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we have an HLBAC report? No. Okay. In that case, we'll move on to supervisor reports. Start at that. Kelly. Okay, Jennifer.
I want to remind people about Safety Seward Highway. I know it's on our agenda later, but just for what it's worth, we do have national organizations not connected to Alaska at all weighing in on this. So I just feel, yes, Outside Magazine published an article about it, which didn't, by the way, reference a single Girdwood resident at all. So just saying, it doesn't mean that their opinion is not valid, but I feel that our community's opinion is special valid, and I just want to make sure people get it out there. And the FCC is mostly talking about bylaws, which is also on our agenda, and then about the HLBAC, the upcoming meeting is, there's only one action item, and it is about the natural burial, which is not directly connected to Girdwood, but I find it really intriguing. So anyway, that is what they're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for fire, the, this, report for Chief Weston, she'll probably include this, as I saw earlier, but in case you missed it then, there's open application for new firefighters and a new CERT coordinator since they're moving. So she's looking for a new CERT coordinator. They'll try in-house before outside, and an office associate position is open. And, he sent a letter update to the WUICAT organization today, and that meeting is right now. So I have a brief update on their January meeting, which I also missed as it conflicted with this meeting. So the main actions from the WUICAT in January were to communicate with all the community councils that AFD will be offering approximately 2 chipper days for each community council. Maybe that means across the board, maybe they merge, but I know Chief Weston has worked on chip event here, and that kind of coordinates with the woodlot, but not really. But if we ever have ideas as a board here to have space for that, that is ideal. The chipper days are to promote removing fuel and increase participation in Firewise, and councils will need to select dates and have a list of participating residents by the end of May, and the details on the program will be available around the end of March. So I'll bring over to you March-ish. But I'll communicate with you guys too. But those are the main things they're trying to do is chipping events. That's all. Yeah. Yes.
Just a question about that.
Yes.
Did I understand correctly that we don't know if there is going to be a chipping event specifically for Girdwood, that we might get lumped in with other communities, even though Chief Weston's working on it?
Right. That was just their highlighted 2 sentences where I was thinking out loud when I said that to be merging, but ideally we would definitely have our own.
Okay.
And in other years, there was the woodlot, which was separate, but it included Chief Weston and Kyle, and maybe collaboration with Chugash or Wildlife Conservation Center. So partnership is really key. But it's all with AFD now for this event. Hope that was clear.
Sort of, yeah, thanks.
So I will get back to you on that.
I've got a question as well. It may not fit here because I know WUICAT is not CWPP, but I will ask, see if anyone can answer. GBO sent a letter with some concerns about the CWPP, and I don't think we ever received a response. I think we received an acknowledgement the letter had been received, but I never saw a response or anything included in the document.
Good question. Stephanie Dufek was meaning to include her response letter to the WUICAT's previous meeting, and it wasn't. So it's in this packets meeting for tonight, acknowledging that certain submissions were made by letter instead of the survey or the official meeting. So that was probably referencing ours because we were a letter. And that they used their contracting company for all of that. So I took that as every comment was accepted. But I didn't ask her specifically again.
Right, but
after
not
that.
necessarily responded to.
No,
So we haven't got an answer to the question.
right,
question.
non-official response.
Okay, thank you. Brian, do you have a supervisor report?
Nothing from me this evening.
Thank you. I will just, I'll just mention that the HLB plan, the 2026 plan was approved at the last assembly meeting. So that's now in place. And I think we should probably add in our minutes, but that's available online. Next item is the IGC work session recap. Staff, do you want to do that, or do you want one of us to do that?
I wasn't prepared to do it.
No, I thought that it was something that one of the supervisors would want to go over.
Any volunteers? If not, I will. Yeah, we got we had a very informative, wouldn't necessarily say interesting, but a very informative meeting from the Director of Office of Management Budget about how IGCs are calculated. And in some cases, they are based on services we receive. In some cases, they're based on the average of, or the budget is based on the average of years of services we've received. And in some cases, it's a straight allocation depending on what resources you have. So for example, I think we're the budget for IGCs for facilities is based on how many square feet of facilities you have. So you then get a proportion of the overall costs in the budget. We still had a few questions about what we actually get charged for. And I think some of those will become clearer when the 2025 accounts are closed out. I know some of the information was not available at the time of the work session. I think we will get to see that in the near future. And there were some other questions as well about how we pay, particularly for why we're paying so much for various parts of the fire department costs. I think we should expect a couple of answers back, and I think that there are other things which are going to be part of an ongoing discussion, and we might end up touching them on the first quarter revisions either tonight or next month. That's what I remember. I definitely learned a lot from the meeting. Does anybody have any other comments?
I thought it was interesting, you know, we've been trying to get behind that curtain for many years, and I was good to see how they kind of come up with the formulas and show us, like, especially with the fire department in comparisons to like Fugiac pays and we pay, and then what the Anchorage Fire Department pays themselves. And so it was interesting to see how that plays out, to get an answer to that liability question. That seems like the municipality had a large liability claim there for a period, and that got spread out across everybody. That's why we saw a big increase in those areas. But yeah, I think we continue to go through that. Good for them to actually have that explanation period with us as well, because we've never gotten that before from any administration.
I think for me, the highlights were the overheads which aren't service-based, so things like the office of the fire chief and management and operations, we get charged 1% of AFD's overall costs, and Chugiak gets charged 1% of AFD's overall costs. I don't know if that's a fair reflection of what we use. That would be like 20 hours a year, I guess, of the chief's time, plus 20 hours of everyone else in his office. I don't know if that's a fair reflection of what we actually use, but you know, that was clear.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that jumped out was, at least when it comes to budgeting for IGCs, maybe not we get charged, but for budgeting purposes, it's calculated on an average of previous 3 years. And we had, for the shop, we had a huge year of over $200,000 worth of shop services. So we're still our budgets are still suffering from that very, very large use.
Yeah.
Other years, it's much, much smaller. So that's something that will roll off. But I think what we still don't see, at least from this side, what I don't always see is the reconciliation for what we got actually charged, not for what we have budgeted. I guess that falls out.
What the actual expenses were.
Yeah,
yeah.
That falls out when we see the end of the year, what's left over from our budget. But it isn't clear how that relates to the future budgets.
Correct.
And that's something maybe we could do in the future.
Yeah. And we haven't seen those 25s close yet.
Yeah. You know when that's expected?
Well, I think they just finished 24 right at the end of the year, so I should probably work on it over the next 6 months.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Let's move on to our next item then, which is committee updates. Items not on the agenda but of interest to the community. Anybody from the committees want to report back? Not seeing anything. So let's move on to standing reports. There's a new table for proposed Girdwood developments. If there are any questions, go ahead and ask. I think that's the date. Don't think we have anything more from Parcel H. I know there are some legal challenges going on through the courts for Parcel H. We haven't got any update on property tax funds, rules and procedures we'll be discussing later. STR registration and regulation is no change since last month, really no change since the end of last year. Any questions on any of those? Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, going through quickly tonight. We'll move on to service provider. Start with Chief Weston.
Few things. We're already planning for the 2026 fire season, and I sent the Anchorage Woolly Cat and GBOS report this morning or this afternoon, basically outlining what we were doing. APEC was in that station last week doing EMT testing for us. We do verified EMT provider testing and AEMT provider testing through APEC. It's a consortium and we're a member at a testing site. The health department, municipal health department was decommissioning a bunch of shelter supplies. So we were able to grab from that a trailer and a Connex. A lot of the items in the shelter trailer and Connex were no longer viable, but we've sort of pulled out what we can use and gotten rid of the other 12-year-old supplies that have gone through like any heat and thaw cycles. So, but we're hoping we can repurpose this, and we now have blankets for everybody in the community if we have a disaster, and a bunch of cots and everything. So we are looking better. We still need some shelter training provided by the EOC and things like that, but it's a good step in the right direction. And the Connex you'll see is behind the fuel cell out there. It's already placed. The trailer had some damage to the roof, but we had to repurpose it. We launched a new HR platform. You'll see when we're hiring for positions, you'll see we're hiring through a professional website. And then also this provides our resourcing platform. There's opportunities to work with us. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we're applying like every other health agency in the state of Alaska. We're applying for a rural healthcare grant to try and get us secure staffing for the second ambulance. January was busy. We were 36 calls, 12 patients were transported. We had 24 EMS calls, no vehicle accidents, surprisingly, 1 environmental exposure, 2 assistance given. We had 6 fire alarms, a gas leak or odor in the building, power lines down, and then 1 water issues. And twice we had to utilize station move-ups, which basically meant Anchorage had to cover us because all of our resources were already being committed to calls. Just a reminder, we're on Pig Click Give for PFD. Next slide. So what are we doing for fire season? We received a grant I applied for forestry equipment and training. I submitted another $10,000 grant for wildfire evacuation materials. On my wish list, of course, is to replace the Barks truck, which is a 2007. AFD submitted a grant for replacement slip-in units. One of those will go in the brush truck and the other will go in the new Polaris Ranger, which we were able to buy as City of Whittier gave us a grant. And we had wildfire deployment funds, so we put that back into Polaris Ranger. We're doing that because with the slip-in unit, it'll provide a way to transport a patient on the back of the Polaris Ranger. It's got a little pop-out spot for the patient to go. It also has a pump. So if we have another year where people are starting fires down the trail system, we'll be able to easily go there. We currently use 2 razors, but they're kind of reaching end of life. So they're 10 years old. So, and it's getting hard to get parts when they break. So, so the current plan is to get 2 Polaris Rangers. This is first Ranger. Here's how we like it. And then we're doing, the grant for forestry also covered initial red card training. We're trying to get up to 80% of, hopefully 100% of all our firefighters trained with a red card. And then we're doing our refresher this year through Anchorage, the Anchorage Wildfire Commission in Anchorage. And then next slide. And that picture is our evacuation areas. Which we got last year. So workforce opportunities with fire department. We have community firefighters positions open through the 23rd. We currently have around 4 applications, I think, at the moment. We have a fire office assistant position open until filled. We have a CERT team coordinator position open. Longtime fire department member Steve Bartholomew is moving out of state. So we're doing that. We're always for CERT team members, and then our nonprofit board of directors are expanding the number of directors. They're all staying on for another term, but we're also expanding the number of directors. Any questions for me?
I have one, Chief Weston. Could you please separate more distinguishedly how The woodlot and wood chipping is different events?
Oh, we don't have a woodlot.
No.
No, so, what funding, and I sort of provided you that report today, what funding does Girdwood have directly for wildfire, projects? We have the grant I got from Division of Forestry, for the equipment and that. We haven't gotten funding for wildfire for the last number of years. So we don't have any funding allocated to us for brush removal or chipping or anything like that. What we do have is, the last couple of years, Chugach Electric has been very nice to us and donated chipping opportunities, which we do on Wildfire Mitigation Day. And then we've been able to use those chips both in Forest Fair Park, and then also the Anchorage Wildlife Conservation Service will take the fresh browse and use that for animals. So that's the hardwoods basically. So do we have any new funding this year? No, we have no funding. We only have the funding to replace the 20-year-old equipment that I wrote the grant for. No funding for evacuation, education, or anything like that. That's why I want another grant. Hoping funding's going to come. No funding from the municipality for this. They are helping us out with the refresher, so that's good. They are helping us out with writing the slipping unit grant that they want municipal wide. But we haven't seen any dedicated other funding for the wildfire mitigation or support or education or anything like that yet. Doesn't mean it's not coming, just don't know what yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, you have a question?
Thank you, Mike. Chief Weston, this last week or so, 2 weeks ago, I had the unfortunate event to need to get new homeowners insurance for my place, and switching insurance companies was eye-opening. I got to say, finding out that Girdwood is considered at extreme wildfire risk, and I'm wondering, what can we do as a board of supervisors to help mitigate this designation that we have here in Girdwood?
Brian, through the chair, or Supervisor Burnett, we are, I think, rated as high. We weren't the highest in the municipality, but we still came out as high. There's challenges, with insurance, house insurance is interesting right now, right? We changed it, they smoothed our ISO rating from a 2.4 to a 3. I don't think that affects everybody, but I myself went through the whole insurance process, and it was difficult because a lot of a lot of insurance companies are looking at overall risk and deciding what they want. And I know in some parts of the state, certain insurance companies sent people letters saying that they couldn't have wood decks, right? So it's challenging, I think, right now, and I think we need more education for the insurance companies. I additionally think we can put into place like a homeowner, you can do a defensible space audit of your house, right? And you can see what you can do. That's something we can do. And that might help. Sometimes an insurance company will give people breaks if they've had that done. I'm not sure about the local providers at this time here in Girdwood. So I think that's something that we can do. For me, I'm always looking at, and this is only from working, a parallel career in wildland fire. I always look at what do we need. And so my biggest concern, as I think articulated, is that if we had I can't plan for everything, but if we had a no notice life safety immediate evacuation, we have limited numbers of people in the fire department, right? On staff, and we have limited numbers of police officers. So we really need to have the community as a whole become educated on how to prepare to evacuate and what to do. And then additionally, everyone that owns a bed and breakfast or a pseudo family home, a simply family rental, really needs to take on the responsibility of educating their visitors on what to do if there's evacuation. So I think those are some things that we in the next few months need to figure out how to do. I welcome any questions on that.
Just a quick
Go ahead.
follow-up on that. Is there anything that we can do to advocate for restoring that 2.4 rating versus the 3 rating?
I think the 3 rating is fine. They smoothed it, so it's fine. It was a 2 where people had hydrants and a 4 where people didn't. They smoothed it to a 3. I think that's fine. On our side, we went and did an audit of how we could get extra points. So we've instituted more training, investing more training hours in the department to make sure we maximize that credit. It's a calculation when it comes out, which is separate than the wildfire CW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so there's 2 things. There's insurance so there's 2 things the insurance companies look at. And they used to look at and some insurance companies also don't look at ISO anymore. They do a loss calculation on the zip code or the area, right? So it depends on which insurance company you're looking at.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And insurance companies are also taking, because of the massive losses from wildfires, especially in the West, they're taking a hard look at towns like ours.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that becomes a big issue. And as much as we could do here, I know insurance companies, I was just meeting with a resident today who said he showed me all the trees he had to clear around his place to get his insurance back down.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's become more of a focus, especially in towns like ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
And so for me, staffing is still my big request, right? Staffing so that we can have enough people to, if there's a crown fire in the lower valley or something like that, and we have enough people to at least put some hoses on the crown fire at the time as we're calling for extra resources and an air show. And then also be able to have enough people to go up valley and start evacuating ahead, right? That's my worst case scenario. My worst case scenario is something starts and it's a structure fire and it gets into the crown and it's one of those crazy high wind days on a weird Girdwood, very dry day, and it starts whipping up the valley. So, and we did have kind of like my worst case scenario a couple of years ago during the Sunday night of Forest Fair, where there was a fully involved greenhouse right across from DOT. And we managed to catch it, which was wonderful because the gas station attendant looked out the window at 1 a.m. and saw a big glow in the sky coming from by DOT. They called it in. But at that point in time, if the crew hadn't been able to get it, I was starting to evacuate the next door neighbors. It is what it is.
Couple of questions. One to follow on from that. So in our letter in our comments on the CWPP, we had a huge concern because it uses weather data from Anchorage Bowl, which we know is completely, does not represent weather in Girdwood at all. And we haven't actually received I don't think we've actually received any response to that. And I think they've gone ahead and just used that as a model for Girdwood. So that may be why we're high. Perhaps we shouldn't be, or perhaps we should be. I don't know. Nobody has done the work.
Yeah.
What's your sense of how important that has been in terms of increase in insurance costs?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I just know that the insurance companies look at sort of everything
right
now, but they do look at, I know they look at the high rating. We also don't have water in half of our community, right? That's a thing. We don't have, the good news is we don't have any historical large wildfires. We've been able to catch them. I will say we were able to catch that day we had the people shooting the fireworks that caught, the 3 arsons that day. And they shot it into the trees and the people that were living across from the laundromat, right? And caught those trees on fire. We were able to get water on it and get it off. But I mean, all depends on a weather thing, right? So it's when all the factors align.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of the CWPP, that's supposed to be an assessment of risk,
The whole
and it's based on invalid data.
of the CWPP is that the federal and state agencies won't provide you additional wildfire mitigation funding until you do your CWPP and identify projects and areas where you want to work on them. So for years, I was asking, oh, you've got wildfire defense funds funding, perhaps you could put in the brush truck that we need, because we know we can't bond for it. Here's the brush truck, it's a project ready thing, here's what I want, here's the spec. But you know, the municipality wants to wait for the CWP to be done, where they identify where the biggest risk is, right? So.
Okay. I noticed that a lot of the mitigation plans for Girdwood in that document are about clearing, sort of providing clearing space in various parts of the valley, and don't say too much about the fire department staffing and equipment.
Yeah, and they were provided hours with the fire department.
Right.
Right.
So I mean, I
And-
think
and- And yeah, and there's some. There's in that document, there's some fuel break clearing that I'm not sure even might be community palatable
Yep.
based on that location, right? I mean, and so it would have been nice if that had been discussed.
And again, it's predicated on something we know is based on
Yeah.
bad data.
Yeah.
So
Now, do I have a concern about those people up Crow Creek Road outside of the fire service area? And GBOS purview? Yes, I do, right? We need to have a plan for them, and we need somebody to take their safety into consideration, right? So absolutely,
we say they're outside the fire service area.
they're outside the fire service area.
I did have a second question, which is not related to that. Just the, I noticed in the grant, you have a grant application for the rural health transformation project for additional ambulance staffing. My recollection is that project, you need to have a path to sustainability for any.
Yeah, after 5 years.
What do you think that would be?
I believe in 5 years, we'll get that staff. We need the staffing now, right?
Right.
And I believe in 5 years, the community will have doubled in terms of home ownership in Bolton Hills, or at least gone up a third. And also will have all those new projects in the resort that have gone into place. So, you know, I just, you know, our NFPA staffing just for fire response need is 6. Talking to chiefs at AFD, they said, well, you should have 8 on at any given time. 8 would be lovely. Currently, I have 3, and then 3 always dedicated funding. And then I have whoever else I can pull with paid on call. So it's a challenge. In summer, I have staffing for 4, but I'm still got to figure out how to, you know, the goal is to get to 8. I'd love to pull 2 from the grant and get sort of halfway, partway there. So.
Obviously, for ambulance staffing long term, it's municipal decisions.
Yeah.
It's not us. It's not a service.
But they don't.
Right.
At the same time, they ran out of ambulances a number of times last year, and we're supposed to figure it out. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kept you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, sorry.
So yeah, please.
Sorry. I just want to follow up, actually building a little bit on Brian's question, just real quickly. Your very thorough answer to his question included things about wanting more community education for backup in an emergency situation, and then also in education for insurance companies. And both of those seem kind of like a little vague to me, like I think, okay, great. Like, you know, what do you need out of GBOS kind of thing? And I wonder if that might be something for a future action items.
I need to figure out a way to get community, when I provide opportunity for homeowners, I need to figure out a way to get homeowners to come to the meeting and come and be at the meeting, right? So that's a challenge, right? Or what I asked for the grant for was to try and get, okay, if you won't come to the meeting, I will provide this, I will go to every person's home and put it on their doorstep to try and get them to engage, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for that. In terms of insurance company education, that's I think a scope outside of GBOS.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Chief. Let's move on to police.
Yep, and I talked to Chief O'Shea. He was going to be here, but he had to just step out for a work matter. So he just gave me a general update. They are still working on hiring for their last position as of right now, and they've been working on a couple initiatives for training with the guys. But that was sort of the quick text I got is he had to run out the door. So, but for the most part, operations are going well.
Any questions on police? Okay, let's move on to Parks and Rec. Roads.
So briefly touch on it. We are definitely continue to have this, as Margaret wrote up here, boomerang winter. As we now go back into another cold spell that's going to hit us here for a few days coming forward. And so that is now caused some issues with us for trail grooming and out there on the parks. We have some serious overflow that's popped in the last couple of days. And so we are back to only grooming the 5K out there. We do think we have a volunteer, Cliff Larson out of Old Town, that's been grooming the lower Iditarod and the bird to gird out there. So that I know that's been a very valuable resource for the community, especially when we had that really warm, wet spell. That area was still easy enough to walk on, still needed spikes, but it was doable as compared to the rest of town. So we do appreciate our volunteer groomers out there trying to keep something going this winter. It's been extremely challenging, but they're trying to get after it. We do remind people as these days get longer and you're out for your walk with your dogs is to please pick up the dog waste, but also please pick up the plastic bag that you put the dog waste in and left it on the side of the trail thinking you're going to come back. That is just as discouraging as anything. So we ask you people to make sure and do that out there as it goes. We are keeping up with around town with the waste and pulling garbage weekly. But if you do see anything out there that needs attention, feel free to reach out to Margaret and I, and we'll try to do that. Our seasonal staff posting is out right now. We'll have received applications for our seasonal staff to return from last year. And so we won't be able to start interviews with them until the posting is finished, which will be the end of this week. So, but we are looking to hire for our seasonal staff right now and getting ready for that out there. And a big thank you to Ken Graham and Randy Brandon. They helped us acquire some of the painting or the pictures you'll see when you come in here of old Girdwood, and also the town pictures when everybody comes together. They've gotten broken over the years, so we got them redone on metal, so they'll be much longer lasting. And when the kids run into them, we can put them back up. They won't be broken. So, so we do appreciate them going into their archives and pulling those out and actually enhancing them and making them much better to look at. So that's great there. So Girdwood Trails Committee is working on the winter map and the Girdwood Trails Management Plan as some of their work right now going on. And as always, we're also looking for volunteers to help us with trail measurements, segments, things out there. So if you're out with a Gaia app, that would be really handy. They're right there. And so you can reach out to Margaret if you have any questions there. And then we're also working on getting materials ready, ordered for both projects on a new bridge between Crow Creek Road and Town Square, and then as well for the projects on the middle of Iditarod this year. So those have all been ordered and hopefully be here in time to start this spring when conditions allow out there. As always, there's a list of things of what's open and running out there, and then an update here on our grants as we're working through so many different grants there. We are applying for an Anchorage Park Foundation grant. We are working with Road Trails Committee. We'll be working on interpretive displays for the suspension bridge to replace the hand tram. That'll be part of the interpretive display. We're going to take part of the old terminal, move it over, and have a display there with the hand tram cart in it as part of our historical responsibility for the area. So as always, Margaret does a great job on our social media and website to keep those up to date, and all the links here to get the different things in there. Switching over the roads. The unusual winter continues, and the theme of the winter, and I'm going to get T-shirts made for the steam thaw crew, is steam thawing. Today, once again, we were out there. We've steam thawed probably 3 days last week, and I've said this to you before, but we've steamed more this year than we have in 14 years of me being here. And so we still have a lot ahead of us, and we see it. We got a cold snap coming, and so we'll see what that does out there. But for the most part, we've been staying ahead of it. We have spent quite a bit on steaming because we had to bring in a special contractor. We'll talk about that a little bit down here in the report. But it has been substantial this year to work on that and keep up with the drainages and the unusual winter out there. But we're trying to get ready for spring breakup, which will start, starting at the end of March all the way through April. So I think the efforts we're making now, the investments we're making now, even though they're temporary as they could be, will be good for us to hopefully weather spring breakup better as once we get there. So we'll be looking at that. But I am looking forward to warmer days and longer conditions. So major project updates. We are just waiting on the EPA now for the Roran FIS passage. We sent them the RFP, the request for proposal that we're going to put out for design and engineering. And we had to make a gentle reminder last week to have them review it and get us their comments back. And we're supposed to receive something this week. As soon as we do and we comply with what they want, then we can put that on the street and get that design work going. That will take most of this summer to get that done. Then it will set us up for construction in 27 to replace that culvert down there. So we're working through that process right now. That's the hard part about federal money. It just makes things go slower. And so that's what we're going through at this point. The Winter Creek Trail Bridge at Glacier Creek to replace the hand tram, that is out to bid right now. And we've had a lot of interest from contractors. We had to extend the question period longer at a request of the contractors so they could work with their subcontractors to help hopefully sharpen their pencils and get bids together and give them more time to come back and ask us questions. We received about 22 questions right in the initial phase. One question was, can we extend it? So we did extend it. And so now we are scheduled to have questions in by, I think by March 4th, and then bid opening will be March 12th. So we will know where we're at there. Working with U.S. Forest Service, so we're working step in step with them on this and working through that aspect. We are still contending with a bit of a funding gap, and we'll talk about that a little bit tonight in the budget revision process. But for the most part, we're moving forward, and we're very happy to see the amount of interest that we're getting, questions we're getting from different contractors out there interested in the project. And then well, the other thing that we're working on concurrently too is our 5-year term contract with Western is coming to an end. And so we're currently working on documents and equipment specs to put that out to bid here in the next month. We did run into a little bit of a hurdle today. Eagle River is doing theirs as well. They're a month ahead of us, so which is kind of nice. And they got some feedback from purchasing that purchasing was not going to allow construction to happen anymore under the term contract, which is a switch from the way it's ever been done. And so what they mean by construction is just a simple thing of replacing a driveway culvert. We would have to send that out to bid. If we wanted to do asphalt repair, pothole patching, we have to send that out to bid. Whereas we've always done that under our term contractor. And as you can expect, those of us in the administration who are dealing with this aren't pleased with this change. And so there's going to probably be some discussion going forward. I'll keep you aware of it. But if we were to do that, it would cost the service area significantly more, because I would probably have to get engineered plans that I would have to put out. You have to show exactly what you're doing. Whereas right now I meet with a contractor, we go look at the site, they come back, they give me a bid. If I don't like with it, we talk about it. If I don't like it, then I go find somebody else. But for the most part, the contractors have always worked with us. And I already know what their hourly rate are on non-Davis-Bacon and Davis-Bacon jobs. I know I can buy the culvert. If I need them to buy gravel, I can also get bids from other people. For the most part, they usually meet that and they come with it. So the way the system has worked right now has been at the advantage of service areas. If it was to change, it's going to cost a lot more. And purchasing is saying under Title VII that this is required. And so we're going to go through the process of figuring this out. So I just want to give you a heads up. That's something we're contending with, and we're 2 months out from the contract expiring. So so it either might lead to an extension of the contract by a month, or they'll get it worked out. But I know Eagle River is not happy about this, because what happens is that it does not encourage good contractors like Western and McKenna Brothers, who was out in Eagle River, to bid for the project, because really it becomes a snow removal, ditching, grading contract, which for these large companies, they don't make any money at. They make money when they start to do the construction work, because there's overhead with purchasing materials and things like that. In the summer, in the winter, it just keeps their guys employed, but they're not making any money off of us in that aspect. So yep. So we'll see where that goes. But I want to give you a heads up on how that goes, and I'll let you know how it plays out. Budget wise, right now, what you see up here is what we've spent with our special contractor to help us with steam thawing. Western hasn't sent me the bill yet. They're still working on their invoice for January. As you can see there, that's just what we've paid to Alaska Sand and Gravel, who we brought in. They're substantially higher. With Western, we're about $200 an hour for the steam thawer. They're $500 an hour there. And so I use them as I need them. And so we've been working through it. But I would say that money's been well invested, because it's helped us with a lot of issues that are continuously rising because of the thawing that's going, or the freezing that's going out there. They provide the thawing. So that's kind of where we're at right now with that. So we're in the first month of budgets, so things are small at this point in time. So it is kind of where we stand right now in the different areas. So overall, 25, closing out the 25, we look good there, and I'll give a 25 report here probably in the next month about where we're at with our expenses for 25. So let's see if anything else in here. No. Open up for questions. Any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were saying that expenses were a lot higher on roads, and we might have to cut into what we can do in the summer, but I guess I'm not seeing it on did I miss that on the chart? Like, I see that December was higher than the previous December, but it looks like your totals aren't that far off.
Well, this would be 25 here. I haven't, so our fiscal year, it starts in January. So I haven't included what's going to be in here. I would probably say the Western contract's going to be somewhere between, what was I doing today? I think it's somewhere between $70,000 and about $82,000.
So it's not reflected yet on.
No, they haven't given me their invoice yet. So we'll be adding that in. They did a lot of steam thawing. We also had to buy more sand through them, because we ripped through so much sand during those rain events. And we had to put salt in it, and then they had to truck it down. And then we did some grading and ice peeling. It was a busy month. So that will come in.
If I may,
Yeah, please.
one other question about this, that had to have been a big unpleasant shock about this potential change from purchasing. And you said Eagle River was unhappy. I'm just curious, like, who else is battling this, or what allies are with the city and the muni administration, or is it just the service areas that are?
It's going to be the service areas, but there's a dozen service areas that are dealing with this. But Eagle River and us are the two biggest, but there's Golden View and those areas up there as well. And for Girdwood, you have me to help you figure that out. But those service areas have boards. And so for them to go out and start bidding, it's going to put a lot more either back on the administration, or it's going to put it on those boards to figure out how to handle all that. And so it seems like it's a system that's been working, and it didn't need correction, but for some reason, somebody feels it needs correction now. And now it's going to make it more complex. So
there will be broad unhappiness.
Yes, I think there already is. So I think there's going to be some discussion within the administration. And if it, I would argue that it does need a code change, then we need to figure out how to make that a code change. So, yeah.
I was going to follow up on the same thing. At what point is it to the point where it needs some political leverage as well, or are we not quite there yet?
Nope. I think we need to see what the administration does and what it comes out of purchasing and what's worked out. And then if it does go to the point where, I could see the Eagle River Board having problems with it. And then I think the service areas should really have consideration on what, if it doesn't work towards the advantage of the service area getting the best deal. So,
and is there any clarity on where this change came from?
I think it was caught through a review process when they were doing, a new set of eyes coming in and then their interpretation of Title VII and what it meant and then what requirements needed to be. So, because there's other contracts within the city that are term contracts that can be used for construction, but they bid them different. And so I think they weren't accepting of the way these are bid. So I think that's something that we'll have to see.
I did have one other quick question as well, which was in the Winter Creek Trail Bridge, Glacier Creek crossing. When do you think you'll have? Is it when you open the bids in March that you will know when there's a funding gap, or is it sometime after that?
No,
I'm just trying to make sense of when. Okay,
March 12th, we'll know.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so we'll move to the library.
We didn't receive a report from the library at this time.
Okay, thank you. In that case, we'll move on to public comment. Persons offering public comment, state the full name and address. Public comments limited 3 minutes per person on subjects not listed on the agenda. Does anybody want to make public comment? Bryce, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So many of you guys know me. My name is Bryce Wilbanks, P.O. Box 495. Send me some mail. And I just wanted to introduce myself as running on GBOS, or running for GBOS and filing here. Really excited to be doing that and excited to make, good changes here in this community and be of public service to people. And so just wanted to put that out there that I'm running again for GBOS here. It'll be up in the April election for the people listening online and in the room there. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me personally. My phone number and email are pretty easy to find on the GBOS website, LUC, as well as just Googling. So yeah, that's all I want to say. And thank you guys for the time.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Not seeing any. We will move on to old business. We have 2 items under 6, an A and a B. I think we should take them in the opposite order, but for the FCC bylaws, that's to do with the FCC as an organization, so I will disclose for that. I know we have things to discuss about improper issues in our last meeting around the discussion around the FCC delegates. I think we should probably start there. Go ahead.
Brianna speaking. I made a motion to reconsider after our last meeting only based on the vote regarding the void request from land use. And that would be an opportunity for the board right now just to decide if we have an interest in reconsidering that vote. And the vote was to go with land use's request to void our vote from November.
So I can speak to this briefly. So the process we have according to code, according to our rules and regulations, rules and procedures, is the person moving for reconsideration, if they do it in 24 hours of the meeting, the end of the meeting, has to be someone who voted on the prevailing side, which you did. And our rules and procedures say the second can be any member of the body. So Brian was traveling in Europe. I seconded that. We got an objection from Jennifer that I can't second because I was recused from the item. We reached out to one person, the clerk, and they bounced us to somebody else. And their decision was that we can't follow our rules and procedures. We have to do something different, which would mean that the second can't be someone who's recused from the item. They didn't make any didn't help us on other cases, like if somebody wasn't present at the meeting. I said, our rules and procedures are pretty clear. It's just a member of the body. So we can, as a body, decide whether we want to accept the second or not accept the second. I think that's probably the way we should go. Sorry. Do you want to?
So I would, I guess, the way that I understand that statement would be that we would vote on whether we accepted the second.
That's the way.
And the majority would be whether we accept the second.
Right. There would need to be a second on that motion.
Oh, but, okay.
So that's the motion. So is there a second on that motion?
I'm sorry, could you state the actual motion?
The motion would be to vote on whether the second of the reconsideration is valid or not,
Yeah, basically whether we can accept this.
whether we accept the second.
I have a question about that. It was my understanding that we got a very clear decision about this, that no, and I'm not interested in second guessing the Muni or the Muni employees on this one. We've already made a pretty big stink about this. We already got an answer about this and it's been answered. So we don't get to decide we're going to overrule the city.
We actually do get to decide that.
Well,
We can suspend
I don't
it.
think we should make a habit of that. I
Right, so
think
you
that-
don't think we should? but
Excuse
we
me.
can. Thank you. Yeah, but just.
I wonder, do I have a right to speak or not?
You have a right to speak. You have a right to say things are untrue as well. So please go ahead.
Wow. Let me explain again about our code of conduct, and I'm going to object to you chairing this. Excuse me.
Yes,
We have a policy of respecting each other's opinions.
we don't have a practice of you respecting other members of the board, though. That's the problem. That's why we're in the situation we are and going through this yet again and wasting resources, wasting our time and resources.
I think it's more of a waste of resources to question city employee decisions. I appreciate that you have a different perspective than I do. However, I do have a right to my opinion, and I have a right to not suffer false accusations, as well as accusations of lying, and the heavy sighing, not polite. The interrupting, not polite. None of those are consistent with our code of conduct. And I would ask you to please be consistent with our code of conduct. I'm also going to say that you have already been ruled to have a conflict of interest in this matter. You clearly still have a conflict of interest in this matter, and as such, should not be chairing.
Okay. One of the improper issues is the way in which you went about as acting chair, creating a process which does not exist in code and is not a legal process, which we can get to in a minute. But that is an open question. So at the moment, what we have is a motion on the table. Is there going to be a second or not? I'm not hearing a second. So in that case, I think we should accept the position that there was not a reconsideration, a valid reconsideration motion. So that is not there. We can now move on to the items of improper actions at the last meeting. I would ask somebody impartial to chair this discussion.
I'll share.
Okay. I was going to ask you, but that's fine. You can chair. If the body agrees, does the body agree that Kelly should chair this section of the meeting? So this will be effectively the process in which we made decisions in January.
Excuse me, I don't see this item on the agenda.
Okay, it's under the same argument. Last meeting, there was an item saying discuss FCC delegate, and you used that to claim improper behavior at a previous meeting and revisit. So we're doing the same thing as we did last meeting. Now, maybe it wasn't, if it's not valid now, it wasn't valid then.
Excuse me, if I may, I understood us previously to be discussing a specific request from LUC. And so now I'm not clear on, is this a request from LUC that I'm not aware of, or, because we had a request from LUC to revisit our vote, and so.
I think that one's over.
I have a
Seconded.
that I just was given the chair and I would like to have the chair.
Well, we haven't decided, the body can decide whether to give you the chair. You just offered.
Okay, let's
So
decide.
I think the body should decide that. So that then it's nice and clean.
Okay, let's decide then.
So if you can make that as if you could just make that as a motion, you take
Okay,
over.
I'll motion taking the chair to discuss this item.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second the motion for the sake of
thank
discussion,
you.
but I do have a question.
Right, so now we should move on to any discussion of the item. It is moved and seconded.
So I'm just curious, I guess, why we're bypassing the co-chair in this situation and what the item actually is. Like, if I could get some clarification on what we're discussing.
We're discussing the improper actions which proceeded the decision at the last meeting to make changes to, well, basically the process that went on at the last meeting, which is improper in multiple ways.
I have a question because we approved this agenda. And I believe that means we should go in the order that the agenda is approved, which is we should talk about the FCC bylaws. And then we could move on to talk about the FCC delegate. So I have some confusion why we would be changing the agenda in real time when we approved it at the beginning of the meeting.
It's fine. So in that case, let's, do we still have a motion in front of us, second, to temporarily change the chair? We can pull that motion back and then go through this in the same order. That was right in B. so we
I'm
can
happy
pull
to
that back
share
and-
the entire item and we can go in the order that it's listed
Okay,
as, I don't believe there's any reason.
so for item 6A and B, you'll be chairing, just to clarify. So item 6A and B, you'll be chairing
I'm happy to.
if the body agrees. And then we'll move back to, when we get back to item 7, we'll go back to normal. Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Jennifer Wernegard,
Yes.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Brian Burnett,
Yes.
Mike Edgington.
Yes.
Motion's 5-0.
Okay, our first time, so
Thank you.
I'll do my best. We're discussing first the FCC bylaws. I don't know exactly.
Well, so I'd like to make a disclosure. For the FCC bylaws, this is a matter of related to the FCC as an organization, and I serve as chair of the FCC, so I have a conflict potentially.
Okay, can somebody give me the questions, please?
I have that in front of me. I'm not sure if it's
It is up there.
back on the table. maybe.
Take a look.
FYI, we have 63 homes without power backup.
The question before the chair will be, does the supervisor have a substantial private interest, including a financial or personal interest in the matter to be described before the body? So you've already provided a detailed description of the interest. Is the interest financial or personal?
Private, personal.
Personal. Who holds the interest?
I do.
When did the interest arise?
Months ago, years ago, in the past.
How does the matter before the body impact the interest?
It doesn't really impact the interest directly, but it's about the bylaws of an organization I'm the chair of. So it's about bylaws of a private organization.
Okay. Is the interest a substantial part of the matter under consideration? So is the interest.
Essentially,
so-
yes.
Yeah. Does the impact of the interest directly vary with the outcome of the official action?
No, I don't think it does.
I just want to ask a clarifying question for myself. Because as I understand, as the chair, serving chair of the FCC, and this is the bylaws with which you have thus an interest in their approval and everything, whatever official action we may take would affect your interests because you're interested in the bylaws. Am I?
I don't think the outcome of whatever this discussion is, I don't think the outcome actually affects my interest.
Okay.
It's not like there's a contract or something that I profit from or don't profit from.
No, but it's interest, not financial, personal, not.
Yeah,
financial.
I'm just saying, I don't think the actual, any decision from here impacts my interest. I'm interested, that my interest is just on the, in the organization and the process of the bylaws.
Is the impact on the interest immediate or conjectural and dependent on factors?
They are.
Fantastically unhelpful. All right, let's slow this down. Is the impact on the interest. So this is the impact of this discussion on your private or your personal relationships, immediate or conjectural, and dependent on factors beyond the official action? That question just,
It's dependent on the official action. I guess it's immediate,
yeah.
but I don't know if it's substantial.
Do you believe your interest prevents you from placing the public interest on the official action above your private interest?
I don't think it does, but I'm happy to sit out for the discussion on the bylaws.
Do you believe you should be excused from
Yes.
participation in the official action on this matter?
On the bylaws matter, yes, 6A.
Do other members have any questions for the member disclosing? Okay, especially because you personally believe that you have a conflict and you've stated it as such, I'm going to agree and rule that your conflict is substantial and you should be recused from the discussion on the bylaws.
Okay. Does the body want me to answer any questions if there are?
No, I already
about
asked
the
that.
No, about the bylaws themselves, not as a member of the body, but it's in my other role.
I would.
Yes. What would you like?
I would like the answer to his question he just answered. He just asked is yes. I would that Mike just asked. I would like him to be able to answer questions about the bylaws since he was so fundamental in writing them.
Okay.
I sit in the audience and
Okay.
answer any questions on this, if there are any.
We have a very non-descriptive agenda item here to discuss the bylaws. So would anybody like to introduce that or help the board understand exactly what we are after with this agenda?
I will. So the FCC, the Federation of Community Councils, is debating a change to their bylaws. They've been working on it for months. Mike was heavily instrumental in writing up the changes, and they will be coming up for a vote. Now, I had asked for a red line version that was that showed the old and the new, and what we got instead was something that redlined the more showed the more recent changes. What we still don't have is one that shows like from the and like correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think we have the one that shows the original and then all the original one, like the currently operating bylaws. This is not that, unless I'm mistaken. So, so that's the introduction.
And, sorry. Go ahead, Brianna.
Jennifer was, or through the chair, Jennifer, that what was just brought up on the screen was what we saw last month, probably.
That looked to me like what we saw last month.
And Jennifer, could you clarify what the intent of this item on our meeting is now? And is there action? What is our goal in discussing this right now?
Well, I think the main goal is to find out what the community thinks about the changes. As I said, it will be coming up for a vote for the FCC, and there were a number of things that were trying to be fixed and addressed, and with the bylaw changes, if you look at the initial ones, they're pretty sparse. However, the one that has been getting the most amount of attention is the one that affects the Board of Delegates and how the delegates work. And that is one that kind of the one that's getting the most attention is something that could be stated to consolidate voice to 7 to 11 members. So that's this member councils. And there you go. No, it says somewhere it's going to say no more than 11, then between 7 and 11. And I'm not entirely sure, but Mike will know, I'm sure.
When are these being voted on?
Possibly March.
Before or after our meeting?
Before the next GBOS meeting, after the next LUC meeting.
And has LUC discussed the bylaws and
It has
taken a
been
position?
introduced only generally, but no, there has not been an official LUC position on this.
Is LUC planning to review and make a decision?
It is up and on the next agenda, but I don't, or the next meeting, but I don't know if they're gonna take a stand or not. It has gotten a little bit caught up in the conversation about what, should we be in FCC? And so we were trying to, or should we have a delegate? And so we were trying to put off that discussion until this one because it got a little too entangled.
So was there a question that we needed Mike to answer about the consolidation with
Well,
that?
I'd love to hear Mike's synopsis of the bylaw changes.
Yeah, do it quickly. The main difference between the old structure of the FCC and the new structure of the FCC is, or at least the proposed structure of the FCC is, the old one did not make a clear distinction between the non-profit itself and the work the non-profit does when councils gather together and discuss things. This is a problem and has been a problem for a long while. The body of delegates changes frequently. I think we counted 80 changes in the last 2 years. So there have been 80 distinct sort of groups throughout the last 2 and a bit years. So when you're trying to manage a non-profit, having a board that's already 30 odd people and it changes literally every meeting is just an unsustainable structure. Separate from the management of the non-profit, there is the issue of when community councils get together and discuss things. Now that is still called FCC, but it is not the non-profit. It's a separate entity known as, we're referring to as a coalition of delegates. There is zero change to that. There is no change whatsoever in the coalition of delegates. Work that community councils do together stays exactly the same as before. What this does is fixes some of the structural problems with the management of the non-profit. So the management of funds, legal issues that come up, the employment of the executive director, general policies, and the stuff that non-profits have to deal with month to month. So all this change is about the structure of the non-profit and has nothing to do with either community councils themselves or how community councils interact with each other, represent their interests to the assembly or anything else.
Brian, did you have a comment or question?
Thank you, Chair. I am just curious to hear from Mike what the relevance of the FCC bylaws are in the affairs of Girdwood, and then secondly, why we should be concerned.
I think directly there's no relevance. The primary purpose of the FCC is to provide the support for community councils that we get through staff here in Girdwood, because we have the Girdwood Board of Supervisors and the Girdwood Board of Supervisors acts as a community council. So we have, and we devolve some discussion and decision and or release advice functions into land use. So all of our support work is done through staff. The areas where the FCC probably, some of the work the FCC is relevant, Girdwood and GBOS, is some of the ancillary training. There's training about, there's some training about not so much advocacy, but training about sort of encouraging community engagement and things like that, which I think GBOS can benefit from. But that's a training which is issued to through FCC to all interested parties. It's not about the structure of the FCC itself. So I think to answer your question briefly, it's not really relevant at all.
Thank you.
So I'd like to ask some clarifying questions. I heard you say that as far as the coalition of delegates, there's no changes at all, but that doesn't seem quite accurate because they quite specifically change the number of times, the new bylaws change the number of times that coalition of delegates meets every year. So they would no longer be meeting every month, if I'm not mistaken.
That's incorrect. It doesn't actually state anything there about how often the coalition meets. It states about how they meet as a member as the member voting organisation, how often elections occur for directors, but the intent is that coalition meetings continue every month. The FCC board meetings are going to be less frequent, which allows more time for coalition work. So the expectation, intent, and I think what it actually says in there is the coalition will meet just as often, but have more time to do coalition work and take away a lot of the irrelevant stuff that's about the boring management of non-profit.
Okay, so just to clarify, because maybe I totally, it's fine if I misunderstood it. I don't know them forward and backwards, and I didn't write them, obviously. So you're saying that the coalition of delegates will still meet monthly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Or down, sorry.
Just to add one nuance to that, as Jennifer knows, it's generally a 2-hour meeting each month. About an hour of that is non-profit stuff, and about an hour of that is coalition stuff. And the intent is to have most months the full 2 hours, or at least an hour and a half, dedicated to coalition work. And then board meetings would be either separate or take up a much smaller percentage of the time and occur less frequently than monthly. But the coalition, part of the reason here is to add more capacity for coalition work.
Another question. So can you speak to, well, actually, can we just talk a little bit about the 80 changes in 2 years? Now, some of that is from, can you speak to the total number of delegates right now? Because I believe 35.
Don't remember, there are now 30, there used to be 37 community councils who never met. There are now 35 community councils. And I think one doesn't meet. So I guess that means it's gone from 37 members, 37 delegates to 34. Sorry, it's gone from 35 to 34 through the recent boundary changes. There is a delegates can become non-voting members, but that just changes issues around quorum. It's still 30. It's basically 35. One doesn't mean. So 34, 30. And typically there's a delegates change for many community councils yearly or multiple times per year.
And so I just thought, I think it might be relevant, that number, because the changes are not that surprising given the number of delegates.
Correct.
So like it's certainly nothing like our 5-member board not having a whole lot of changes. Like we do have a 34-ish member board that there would have to be turnover within a year or so. However, it would be interesting to look at your total percentage of consistency. So that, you know, it doesn't, 80 changes doesn't indicate 80% turnover. It indicates who knows what actual percentage of turnover of the board in terms of how many, you know, and it also doesn't address the number of the boards that might have issues finding one person to consistently represent. So anyway.
So I think my sense is that we get a sense of these changes. I'm hesitant for this board to take a position absent LUC taking a position, since that doesn't really follow our order. Is there anything that we're trying to achieve on this topic in this meeting that hasn't been achieved in the discussion thus far?
One quick clarification. I think there might have been some, I was one of the 6 people on the bylaw committee that, and I'm not chairing the bylaw committee. I'm one of the 6 people who wrote these, so it was a group effort. So effectively on behalf of the board, because we've discussed it and tried to come up with a way of sort of explaining the main changes.
It can be done because I
Yeah.
have an action item. So in light of that, was there anybody at all from Girdwood that was involved with either I know that wasn't one of the 6. Were you coordinating with anybody else from Girdwood as you were writing the changes, or was this just through the FCC?
It's a change to the procedures of, to the non-profit. So yeah, I mean, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's any. It's not a relevant question. I mean, it's a relevant question, but it is no. It's not a good addition at all. As we said earlier, these are effectively irrelevant.
Yeah, so I think the question was, were you working with anybody else in Girdwood? And what I hear the answer was no.
They're just working with the people on the board who are doing
That's fine.
the people on that subcommittee.
Just making sure I clarify for myself, what was the question and what was the answer? So I think coming back to the overall question, which is, have we adequately addressed this item to the satisfaction of members on the board, or is there anything else that needs to be discussed about it? Okay, so then moving on to item B, a discussion of the FCC delegate.
Thank you.
I think we did this last meeting.
I agree with you.
I think we made a motion and it's not reconsidered. So I think I would be happy to move on to the important business of Girdwood 7 through 17. For Kyle and Margaret and for everyone on the board, or anyone in the room, on the board, online, and still has power in their house in Girdwood.
Wait, the power bill?
Yeah, that's what you're saying, 60 houses.
I would agree with that. So
I'd like to bring several things, I guess, point of order, I guess. But there are multiple things that went quite wrong at our last meeting. There are the first thing I think we can start at the very first of them, which was there was I think a declaration that our decision in November was done improperly without I don't think any evidence presented. And then a decision to redo it. There is a process for changing, for going back and revisiting things. That wasn't followed. I think the second thing that's very, very concerning, and I hope everyone realizes how significant this is and how dangerous it is as a precedent to set, is we had one person who decided they would create a disclosure for somebody else. That's not permissible. It's not what the code says. It's not a legal process. It's quite a scary precedent. What it will actually mean is that anyone in the future here on GBOS with basically a minority vote can exclude any other elected representative for any items arbitrarily. I'm not running. I decided several years ago I wasn't going to run for a 4th term, so this won't affect me for too long. But I would be pretty worried if I was going to be serving on this board for the next 6 months or a year or several years, because this is a very dangerous and improper precedent which was set. There is no way to just declare that somebody else has a conflict and then exclude them, despite the attempt to do that at the last meeting. We actually had in our ethics training a couple of years ago, we asked this very question of, can you make a disclosure for somebody else? If you know somebody has an interest, can you make a disclosure on their behalf and effectively go through that process? And we were told categorically, you cannot. We were told that by both the ethics officer and one of the authors of the ethics code. And I've had multiple discussions since, and that is the view of the majority of people I've spoken to, of almost everybody I've spoken to. Again, the process, very broken, problems in the future. The other thing that I think is really concerning is we have in our minutes of the LUC, we have in our formal approved minutes clearly that we had an FCC delegate in 2021. It says so. There've been multiple times when that's been discussed since. It was discussed at an LUC meeting last January, where I know a lot of the people who've been objecting to this were at. So the idea that we can just arbitrarily say the past did not happen is again, a really quite a scary and dangerous precedent. It doesn't make it true. Again, we can, of course, always say, the earth is flat or make any other declarations. It doesn't change the reality of the situation. And I think it's quite worrying that a board would go back and make a claim from, that things that actually happened and are documented that happened several years ago never occurred. Again, I would be very, very worried if I was serving on this board in over the next year or 2 years about what precedent that sets. And there is a third concern as well I have about a clear conflict of interest from the acting chair at the time, but I will just stop now.
Thank you for sharing your concerns. Is there any other else that needs to be discussed on this item, or are members of the board satisfied that we've covered this agenda item?
Yeah, so I'd like to move that we actually strike the changes that were made improperly at the meeting in January and stay with the decisions we made back in November. I think that it was an improper action in January. If people disagree, there is a process to go through to get a broader ruling on this. I think it's very concerning that a minority can, basically say the past documented things in the past never happened. It's scary that a minority can exclude elected members arbitrarily. That's all very, very bad behavior. I think our best bet as a board is to basically just dismiss the actions of January, declare they were not valid actions, and revert back to our prior decision.
I'll second the motion. I saw that Brian's hand is up.
Brian?
Thank you. I lowered my hand. I have a comment for after we finish this action that we're considering.
So I have some personal confusion because at the beginning of this conversation, Brianna attempted to do what Mike is now doing. And as a point of order, this has already been handled with Brianna's motion and failure of a second. And so I don't believe you can now re-motion it. And that isn't how it works.
Okay, point of order. I did the opposite. I had a completely separate motion, which was not the same as Brianna.
It is effectively the same.
It is not effectively the same.
Excuse me.
It has the opposite impact.
Then please clearly state your motion.
Okay. My motion is that we, because of improper actions at the January meeting, we basically get rid of the changes that were made in January and revert back to our decision of the board from November on the status of the FCC delegate, which was stating how we choose the FCC delegate in the future and clarifying that it is typically assigned to the land use supervisor.
So I have a question just for clarification. You disclosed a private conflict of interest with regard to your membership on the FCC with regard to the bylaws. How is that conflict of interest non-disclosable on this topic?
It is completely different. This is about the appointment of the FCC delegate, which is an action of this board. It is a public matter. It is no different from when we elect our chair. It is no different from when we make a decision, when the chair makes decisions outside of meetings. It's absolutely identical. It's
Other than the
it's not a
person.
private matter.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm speaking. Thank you. The bylaws issue is about the private organization. That is distinct from how we as a body make decisions. And we're not actually talking about we're talking about how we got to that process. We're not talking about the contents of that process. We're talking about how we got to that.
So, point of order.
Yes, please.
Just real quick, point of order. The member making this motion was recused from this matter at the last meeting, and that was a board decision. That was a board approved decision. And so as such is still recused. The code, Anchorage Muni Code, is very clear on this. The recusal remains. It's not something that has to be re-adjudicated at the meeting. So it is inappropriate for the member to be making a motion on a matter from which he's been recused.
And just
Point
as
of
a
order.
point of clarification, and I'll raise this to staff because I believe you guys were. But this was challenged and then also ruled on by the ethics committee saying that the recusal was upheld. That's what
That's not
email
correct.
that I saw. I'm asking staff. So
Yes,
the question is on the table to staff, and if staff wants to redirect it back, I can go into my email and pull it up. But the recusal was in fact upheld by the ethics committee. And as Jen says, does not need to be re-adjudicated each time. And so I believe that that point of order is valid.
Okay, point of order. So the problem is that the way this board came to that decision and went through that process itself is improper. So we performed an improper act in order to get to a point where we created a disclosure by not the member with disclosure, potential conflict. And that is not a proper process. So while the board did incorrectly get to a point where they made a decision, they should not have done so. And it was not a valid way to get there. The Board of Ethics has not ruled on this at all. It's the one person has been consulted. Multiple people have said it's not true, but one person has been consulted. They do not speak on behalf of the Board of Ethics. The Board of Ethics probably should speak on this, and there is a process for doing that. But it's the Board of Ethics that speaks on that. It's not the member of staff. It absolutely isn't my very conflicted co-chair who gets to speak on this either. So we had an improper process to get to the point where a conflict was effectively created and then ruled on by the same person.
It's my observation that the process was in conformance with the conflict of interest policy, which we can absolutely pull up. And until the Board of Ethics rules otherwise, the decisions of this board stand as having been made. And I don't believe that we have enough different situation to revisit this pending a formal ruling by the Board of Ethics, because this board has taken it up. We followed our procedures. We treated a conflict of interest. There was a recusal. That recusal was not challenged. Therefore, the board made a decision, and the decision of that board, this board stands until there is a formal ruling otherwise. And so considering that, and considering that there's nothing which has formally been done to undermine or in any other way invalidate the decisions of the board stand and cannot be challenged by one member who believes that it was done incorrectly. There, as you have brought up in the past, if there is a concern of conflict of interest, then that has to be raised to the board. And this board, one person saying that they have an opinion that's different does not constitute something that the board votes on. The policy is that if there is a disagreement, it has to be handled by the Board of Ethics itself. And so I stand by requiring that and consider this matter closed.
Okay, point of order. I think it would be helpful to look at the ethics code, because again, what we're hearing is we have to follow the ethics code. The ethics code very clearly says where conflicts start from. It does not say that the.
Sorry, point of order. The
does
chair
not
has
say
moved
that-
this matter closed.
Okay, so in that case, we'll challenge the chair. So I move to challenge the chair's ruling, and I would like to see the Board of Ethics or the ethics code in front of us.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, I'm muted right now. Again, I have a motion to make it at a later time after we consider the motion that Mike just made.
We need a second on the motion.
Hearing no second, I consider this matter closed. Go ahead, Brian.
I wanted to chime in a little sooner during the ethics board discussion. Would this body prefer to leave this item and have it have the problem that's perceived addressed by the ethics board and then come back to this item, so we don't have to waste time of anyone else's.
My feeling is that this matter has been sorted, and if there is a member on the body who believes it was done incorrectly, that the mechanism that exists for all of us in the municipality is to raise it to the Board of Ethics. And until there's a ruling by the Board of Ethics, which is contradictory to that which this body has undertaken, the decision of the body stands and the matter is closed. So yes, I'm agreeing with you that it is not on the agenda again until there's a ruling that would change anything.
And can I ask, because I wasn't on any emails, was this already brought to the Board of Ethics?
No.
Any, that applied to anyone?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Brian's has his hand up.
Go ahead, Brian.
So I was gonna get on a little earlier and make a motion that we table this topic indefinitely. And I think that there's no reason for us to spend any more time really discussing the Federation of Community Councils. So my motion is to table any further discussion of Federation of Community Councils indefinitely.
I second the motion.
Sorry, I can't help but laugh because there's a laugh of recognition and I can't hold it in. I think everybody is tired of it. So did
How about
there,
a call to question?
what, yes, call the question.
Call to question would require a three out of 5 vote, I believe, approving the call to question, and then we could vote on it without further discussion.
Okay,
Or if no one keeps raising their hand.
okay. So we have a motion and a second to table indefinitely the topic of the Federation of Community Councils at this board.
Point of information, just to clarify what Brian's asking for. So, Brian, when you say table the discussion, do you mean table it given the changes that were introduced at the last meeting to claim that we have never had a delegate since 2021 or 2022? I can't remember the exact wording. Because that, I believe, that is the decision
Yes.
made at the last meeting.
Yeah, I am over discussing everything around the Federation of Community Council. So as far as the motion that I put forward was to table all further discussion, and we can get on with some other things.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Is there any conversation or can we put it to a vote?
Point of information, am I voting or not voting?
I think not, because you've been recused from discussions on the FCC.
Okay, in that case, point of objection. So point of order. So if we're following this process that anyone can bring up any conflict, then I think we should bring up I definitely need to declare that Jennifer has a private interest here. It's been a kind of personal vendetta on her side to try and get me removed from the FCC chair. Yes, it is.
This is not connected to the motion.
It is clear that there is a personal interest on behalf of one of the members here, and she needs to go through the disclosure process. And then the board can decide whether she can vote on these issues, because she is extremely conflicted and she has been pursuing this private interest for many, many months to the detriment of the municipal resources and everybody's time.
Mike, I hear your concern, and I appreciate that any member could bring up a concern that another member has a conflict of interest. So let's go through the questions.
Wait, can I just ask one point of order? One other point of order?
You may.
I believe the matter was closed. And I think what you ruled this matter closed. And then I think what Brian was trying to do was close it further. But clearly now it's not closed. So I think that indirectly, Brian has inadvertently overruled your ruling that the matter is closed. I believe this matter is closed and we would all like to move on. And I don't see any reason why it needs to show up on further agendas. by the time we have our next GBOS meeting, the bylaws will already be voted on, possibly by FCC. And if not, we can discuss this simply as bylaws. But you made a ruling that this matter was closed.
I did make a ruling that this matter is closed because we have completed the agenda items on it. I think I'm just going to stand by my ruling and that the item is closed, and that completes the discussion on it. Can I open? Yeah,
I think how I understood it is after number 6, the chair would go back.
yeah, and then
So
we
could move
we
to number
finished
7.
6B. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I'm processing simultaneously, and I'm just saying out loud, I ruled that we were complete on 6B, and then Brian brought up a motion to table this matter indefinitely, which effectively reopened the discussion.
Right, and there was a motion on the floor still technically if it was open, so.
Brian, would
Yeah.
you be willing to rescind your motion so that we can complete this item and move on with the agenda?
You know, I'm making this motion also so that it doesn't need to take up any oxygen in the room at land use committee or any future GBOS meetings. And the only way that I can think of to poll the body, confirm that we're done discussing the Federation of Community Councils, is to table agenda item LUC 2512-06 indefinitely.
Yeah, I don't think that we're able to do, we can't dictate what LUC would take up. And I will stand by my ruling that this item is closed. Brianna?
Just it's the number of the LUC. So something with a different number could come up and a different title could come up. So
On this agenda.
on their agenda.
Yeah.
LUC.
Yeah.
You're fine with what you said.
Can we talk about agricultural uses for?
I'm going to hand the chair back to the chair because item 6 was declared complete prior to the motion then coming up. Margaret?
As far as I know, there's still a motion on the table that is related more to item 6 than any other item I can see on the agenda. So I'm not sure.
It was ruled inappropriate is what just happened because it happened after the ruling that the matter was closed.
And so could that be stated clearly by the chair? That you're removing this motion because the mover did not? Because I haven't heard it.
Yeah, you'd be out. Right.
I'm sorry, what?
You'd be ruling out.
How?
You'd basically be saying that Brian's motion is out of order because the matter's already been closed.
Okay, I'm ruling that Brian's motion was out of order because the motion, the agenda item had already been determined closed.
All right, agricultural uses?
Brian's hands up.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I understand your ruling and I abide by it. I would like to say, though, that at a couple of times during the discussion, I was trying to find the right time to put my motion in, and I allowed, discussion to continue, and I probably should have broken in a little bit earlier. So as we all get to take turns at it, being on the firing line of being thrust into being the temporary chair, it's a lesson for us to keep our eye on I sympathize with you. I got to sit through a similar situation recently, and I don't envy you for the decisions that you had to make tonight, and I appreciate your participation.
Thank you. And
So I withdraw my motion.
okay, I was just gonna say, I'm open. If you don't want to withdraw it, I'll entertain it. But if you want, I agree with you conceptually on the whole thing and moving on. So we can either move through this quickly and finish it, deal with the motion, vote on it, deal with the conflict of interest, that's fine. Or if you rescind it, then we'll just let it be dead for now. And I'm okay with it either way. So just,
Moving
I
on.
I want to
It's
respect
roadkill.
the, sorry, go ahead. Okay, moving on. I just want to respect the challenges of the remote operation and I do understand that that's difficult and I haven't been watching it. So I just want to make sure that you feel valued and respected and included and not overridden because of challenges. Okay, chairs back to you. Item number 7.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to ask if, does anyone take a 5-minute recess? It might be good to come back and deal with the rest of the issues after a short break. But I'm happy to pile through. Okay, item number 7. I would actually entertain a motion to postpone this to next month because we haven't got all the material in front of us.
So moved.
Second. Yep. All yours.
Thanks for letting us know.
Okay, any discussion on that or disagreement? Okay, so we will move that to next month. And hopefully we'll get some more feedback from LUC as well. Now, item number 8, agenda item LUC 251007, LUC recommendation for GBOS letter stating solid waste service increase or regarding solid waste service increases. And we did have that discussion at the last quarterly meeting. Jennifer, can you take this?
Sure. Well, sort of. Actually, I have not been leading the charge, and I do notice. I believe that Bryce is online. But I can say just real quickly that I think Mike, you and I both talked after the last Muni meeting that some of the answers about the fee increases and the way that the trash service made sense, and some of it seemed like we might have more questions. So this was just asking for the opportunity to ask more questions at the next Muni meeting. Yeah.
Right. Brianna speaking. Jennifer recapped that really well. And I wanted to acknowledge that we had a really quick or rapid discussion last month was helpful, and that Rochelle Johnson has been waiting very patiently online, and she is the energy and sustainability representative for solid waste services. So she might update us before we start diving into some old information. If the chair wants to invite her in, I don't know what she has. I just acknowledge that she's here.
Rochelle, do you want to, is it Rochelle or Rochelle?
It's Rochelle. And I apologize, you guys, you caught me as I was just taking a bite of salad.
No, I'm feeling hungry. Do you want to, so to summarize, I think the concern in Girdwood is multiple, but partly we're obviously not very close to other facilities. So we have a lot of people. I spoke to the attendant recently, and I think she was saying the majority of people who use the transfer station here bring 1 or 2 bags. So the increased fee is quite substantial and discourages people from using the transfer station. We obviously have a lot of small houses here, and we have a lot of bear activity in the summer. So we have a lot of local concerns about the disproportionate impact of this fee. But I will now, that's just a quick summary. I'll now let you speak to what the current status is.
I do not have any active updates about the current status of the fee increases. I have not been directly involved in those conversations, but I can take notes and certainly take those back to our leadership team to provide your comments and keep the conversation moving forward for future discussion. I was more prepared to chat about the recycling task force And that has been one of the things that we have been looking at, making a concerted effort for the Girdwood community, especially acknowledging that the fee increases are challenging for the community. To increase the amount of diversion opportunities and service events that we offer in terms of disposing of special materials and whatnot for the community. But those discussions are still preliminary. And I believe there's an agenda item for later on in the agenda to discuss what some of those conversations have looked like with the recycling task force.
Okay. Do you feel you have enough information from just the initial part of this discussion to pass our concerns on to your colleagues?
I think I have enough information to start probably what will lead to more extensive conversations about how we can improve service and help mitigate the impacts of the fee increases. I don't have all of the information that I need, but I have enough to begin the conversation, if that's helpful.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this item, given that we do have the recycling task force item coming up later?
I had 2 follow-ups from our last meeting. Through the chair, thank you. And thank you, Rochelle. They have a meeting. I was informed on March 9th about this, so that's not yet. And I mean, this as far as the whole fee increase across the board and across the uni. But we talked about the booth attendant as far as that Sundays as this idea from a person or more. And the booth attendant is a AMEA union member, so that definitely would not jive with their union laws for working on Sunday. And the other things that she mentioned was the staffing for that day. And I can't remember, but they're committed to supporting the services needed for Girdwood and open to creative ideas. Kelly is very, very committed to that. So creative ideas and working with us.
So can I ask you a question about that? So I understood that the Sunday thing, we kind of, that would be a tough knot to unravel. But I guess I'm a little unclear on, are there any more questions or any more avenues on the overall fee increase that we can still pursue? Because I got the sense that that was the bigger issue for LUC, not necessarily Sunday service.
And where it goes.
Yes.
Back to us.
Yeah.
I think that's a question for Parks and Rec in Anchorage.
Okay.
Not solid waste services.
Okay. Well, I guess the original question was kind of also about like the way that fee increase works. You end up paying a lot more for one bag.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, okay.
I think they're taking some more time to figure it out. They have ideas, but they're not software updated to make them happen yet.
And we could leave this. I don't want to beat the dead horse, but it sounds to me like I can report back to LUC. Yeah, fine. We're still working on it. And we're still talking to the community.
Yes. And that I don't think that a letter to solid waste is the right place for the letter to go. Because the last meeting we determined it was the administration or Parks and Rec. But that's details, but it might matter to LUC. Because that was their motion.
This got put in a little awkwardly. Sorry. My understanding of now I'm looking at this. My understanding of what LUC wanted was just to make sure it was still under conversation and that we were going to revisit it at the next community meeting. And so what I say is this. What I see is it says to be discussed at MOA GBOS meeting, and then it has the old date. But I think that anyway, we want it to be discussed at the next. Okay. Anyway, all good. We don't have to.
I was going to say, I think there's an argument that we might want to put our case down in writing, but or we may want to continue this to the next community meeting, given that things are happening between now and then, and then make that decision.
All right, that sounds good.
So
under discussion.
Do we want to keep this on the agenda for next month or push it out to April?
push it to April. Isn't it April when we decide our MUNI, our MOA, next quarterly meeting?
It'll be earlier that day, probably. No, it'll be the week after our April meeting. Because April does not move, correct?
Correct. You'll be meeting March 23rd.
Right.
And your April meeting with the community manager
Will be the week after our April.
be the week after. So at your next meeting, you'll be talking about the agenda for that
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, I guess we don't have to, I don't want to talk about the fact we're going to talk about it. I want to say right now, I hope that it's on the agenda for the MOA meeting.
Yeah.
Put it on the MO agenda and then this should come up again in May. This should get.
After we talk about it in the meeting. How about that? I
Okay.
like that. Okay,
So we're
that's
gonna,
what we're doing.
from a scheduling point of view, we'll push this off until May. Is there any disagreement with that?
No.
Okay.
Not for me.
Bryce, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just wanted to add, so this was kind of forwarded from LUC to GBOS in a, I guess, strange way, because it was also, the recycling portion of it was tacked onto the fee increase, which was the original motion. I think both have merit. But my, I guess, suggestion would be that this is going to require, if you want the fees to go down, it's going to require a code change. So, I mean, if it is waiting until May, that's great, but we might want to start including or working with our assembly members on a code revision to exclude us out of the fee change if that is on the table. So we talk about this at LUC next month again, so we'll have some more information from that, but this would be something that we should probably get an assembly member involved in sooner rather than later. That's just my 2 cents from LUC. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're done with item 8, unless there's anything else. What I'd like to do is, Kai Holland is on, or was on. Yeah, Kai Holland is on. Fresh from a WUICAP meeting, I think. We missed, we weren't here earlier when Senator Giesel gave her update. So Kai, if you can give us update on the state activity now, then we'll move back to our regular agenda. We cannot hear you.
Let's try that microphone now. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I have to switch back and forth between Zoom and Teams and it messes things up. Just a couple quick updates, and then I'll appreciate the break in your discussion. I do have a request out to you for information on the Safer Seward Highway. I see it coming up on your agenda later, so I'll hang on and look for information from that. I did introduce a bill that was read across the floor today. It's House Bill 346. It's the bill I've been discussing to propose language around the DOT's requirement to maintain buffers around airports. This is obviously an outgrowth of what I've learned about what's going on there in Girdwood, but I've drafted this in a way that it would be applicable to any sort of general state operated airport that has potential buffering issues related to adjacent property uses. So I would encourage you to look at that again, House Bill 346. I've also got another bill, House Bill 317, that's come out. This is the other one I've been mentioning about the DOT maintenance along right-of-ways that lead to isolated residential areas. This would be applicable to the Crow Creek Road and the right-of-way maintenance along there for maintaining a fuel break for purposes of ensuring that these critical routes to isolated residential areas are not necessarily going to be blocked immediately in the case of a fire. Beyond that, of course, we're doing a lot of work with the budgeting process. I assume you've already heard a little bit about that. I will note that we're working on the CAPSIS proposals. I assume you've also got an update on that. But I will note in particular that one of the projects that's on there is, again, the Whittier Ambulance Project, which I just highlight that because, Whittier provides a lot of vital services to the Upper Turnagain Arm, including backup services for the Girdwood area. And so anyway, I'm supportive of that, but I also recognize that you've got a couple other projects in that area. So with that, I'll just leave it for questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'll give you a chance to get back to the rest of your agenda. Thank you for a moment of your time.
Thank you. Any questions? No, not seeing any. Michelle?
Hi there. Could you just describe what the Whittier ambulance project is?
Sure. Whittier currently has one newer ambulance, and they have one old ambulance. And this CAPS's request is about $600,000 that would allow them to replace their old ambulance and have two newer ambulances available. If you may know, here about a year ago, their new one, I think it hit maybe a moose or something, was out of commission. They were having to drive around the old one for a while, and we're trying to get them back to the point that they have two ambulances in good condition in order to provide support both for Whittier, but also all of the highway responses that they are asked to support.
Okay, yeah, we would definitely support that. I've been in that older ambulance, so yep, that's a really good project.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions. Thank you very much, Representative Holland.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 9, agenda item LUC 2601-4, LUC recommendation for GBOS action regarding Virgin Creek Avalanche Mitigation Control Development Project, conditional use permit, etc. Speak to this briefly. This is kind of complex. There's multiple different parts to it. There are currently 2 cases in front of, well, one case that planning and zoning has already ruled on, and another one which is coming up on March the 9th. And then there will be later a conditional use permit process. So we have something, I'm not quite sure this is ready for prime time, but it's close. There's a resolution in front of us that basically says we're fine with all bits, without necessarily going into a lot of detail. I think there's probably a few things I would like to change, but we have this if we want to go ahead and basically say we're fine with components. So yeah, I'll just leave it there. Is there any questions or clarifications?
I move that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion in front of us.
And
Any
I
discussion?
thank you for the move in the second. My only questions were really minor, I thought. Referencing way down in the last whereas has the name of the parcel? No. Wherever it has the name of the parcel, survey 4805 track 29B, that part, we call it the old gravel pit. Should that more complicated name be in the title, or we just start out with old gravel pit, name the title, the parcel, and then keep old gravel pit? It says the same thing. It's the same resolution, but
I think that because it's defined later, it effectively communicates.
if it read okay to others.
Yeah.
And then do we have to send it twice?
I think we can just send it once and it'll apply to all of the associated actions. So there is one planning and zoning action for rezone, which has already happened. They've already approved, they've recommended approval to the assembly. There is another action for some code change, which has to follow that, which they are going to hear on the 9th next month. That will also go to the assembly. So both of those are going to appear at the assembly again. And then separately, once that happens, then DOT can apply for a conditional use permit, and that will also go through, that will go to planning and zoning, and planning and zoning will make the decision. So there are effectively 4 more public hearings. The one at the planning and zoning on the 9th, on the 2nd of March, and then 2 on the assembly and 1 more to be determined or to be scheduled at planning and zoning. But I think this probably should cover all of them unless there's some major change. I mean, it could be that when we see the conditional use, there's something big and different. I think this just expresses our support for the system and for what it involves and the uses.
Brian's got his hand up.
Yeah. Brian.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the way this resolution supports kind of the system and what this facility is going to do for South Central Alaska and our transportation corridors. I am concerned about the DOT and the FAA and their control over that piece of land in Girdwood. And I think we want to keep a very close eye on these guys, as they have not been the best neighbors in Girdwood recently or for a while.
Just for, I just want to understand, was you didn't move an amendment, correct? Right.
No,
so
no,
we have-
no, not
No,
not at all. Just
I know you didn't, Brian.
commenting.
I was just checking with Brianna that she did not move an amendment. So we have a motion on the table. We're still discussing that motion. Any further comments? I think we can move to a vote.
Sure.
Roll call.
Jennifer Wingard,
Yes.
Kelly Ocknick,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Brian Burnett,
Yes.
Mike Edgington.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Item number 10, GHEC current and upcoming vacancies. We have an update.
We have no applicants.
Okay. When was the closing date for that?
The 20th, last Friday.
How many vacancies are there?
There's one current and one impending, so 2.
Is it public what the impending vacancy is?
It was announced, yes, so it's Liam Coyle.
Right, okay.
I have one question for that, if I may. I heard some talk from some of the people on GHEC about whether or not it might make sense to reduce the total number of people on this one. I don't know if this board have opinions about it. I've been hesitant to actively recruit or even put it on Facebook or anything if there is a general sense either on this board or on the GHEC board for doing that. So I haven't known. Yeah, I haven't known basically whether to make a little fuss about it, because I think it is possible that a GHEC vacancy could go under the radar.
Total now? Or sorry, what is the possible total? The potential total?
Currently,
7, I think.
7.
we have 7, so it would go down to 5.
My recollection is when we made that decision, we were bouncing between 5 and 7.
May I ask if Crystal could address whether or not they have an opinion?
Yes, sorry, Crystal. Crystal, do you have any thoughts on this?
Hi, Crystal. I don't believe I was on the meeting where this was heavily discussed, but I think if we don't have enough people willing to fill the seats, then it makes sense to reduce it. If we have volunteers, then I'm happy to keep 7. So I think for me, it comes down to the demand of who's willing to volunteer.
Does anyone want to make a motion? I'm not sensing an appetite now. Okay. So we've got that update. We'll probably revisit this. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 11, Safer Seward Highway proposal. Comment period is extended till the end of this week. I guess the question is, do we make comments as a board? Throw this out to anybody who wants to comment and speak to this.
I'll speak to it briefly. Like, as I already said, we have national organizations speaking, weighing in on this. We have actually quite a few national organizations and articles being written about it without consulting the Girdwood opinion about it. I just want to make really sure that the Girdwood opinion is out there. I also would like to point out that the Girdwood Inc. has taken a position on this, at least in terms of supporting the general idea of safer highway and divided where possible, and supporting the DOT in the efforts to make that highway safer. So that's what I have to say about that.
I think importantly, though, my Girdwood Inc.'s letter is that they support making the Seward Highway safer, but they don't support the proposed project of a 4-lane highway because of the sheer 20-year construction and the impact to Girdwood as a result of that. So the letter that they say is, you know, based on these results, we cannot support the 4-lane approach. The roadway is so vital, the Safer Seward Highway project needs to move forward on additional options such as improvement to the existing roadway. So their position has been, we really like everything you're doing. We agree it needs to be safer, but dude, that's way too far. And so
Thank you for clarifying. Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry about that.
I would be curious what people like Outside Magazine are saying. I haven't seen all that. And on the one hand, I do think Girdwood should have a position and we speak for Girdwood. On the other hand, my goodness, I don't know that we have heard a unified position from Girdwood other than I did go to the meeting and listen to the commentary and it was not distinct from what Girdwood Inc. has said. I mean, I think there was a broad agreement that the Seward Highway is important and needs to be safer. And there was broad concern of a 20-year construction program with blasting that would impact normal you know, it's just like imagining road construction for 20 years makes us all want to shoot ourselves in the head, I think, a little bit. That was maybe too far. But so, I mean, we could make a position, but I also don't know that we've truly held a forum for the community to speak to us about what that position would be. And that's my concern in taking a position. And it's so complicated, but I'm open to whatever the rest of the board thinks. And I don't disagree personally with Girdwood Inc.'s position or what I heard at that meeting.
Thank you for clarifying. I didn't mean to misrepresent.
Oh, no, you're good. What did the Outside Magazine people say?
They're opposed.
Okay.
I would say I think that the general feedback I've heard from people I've discussed this with is everybody would like the Seward Highway to be safer. But I don't know anyone who agrees that the proposal is that. I think everyone I've spoken to sees the proposal as a way of making traffic faster, a bit quicker, and it'll be a hugely disruptive process. It's very unclear whether it's going to be safer or not, and it almost certainly will not be safer between now and when it's finished. So I do not really, I haven't come across anybody who supports the project as currently set out. There's obviously a lot of nuance within that. There are some people who are just opposed to the increase in size and the damage to the Chugach State Park and the change to the view shed. There are people who just, you know, see it as a waste of money. There are people who see it as just hugely disruptive for the rest of their natural lives and probably beyond. So there's a lot of variety around that, but I really have not come across anyone who's saying, yes, this is a great idea, go for it. Unless they're a traffic engineer and there's potential employment there, yes, maybe. But even from traffic engineers, I haven't heard a completely positive response. So there is I would say we did see a letter from Kai Holland, our representative, that he sent earlier today, that we could sort of use as a framework, just look at and say, do we agree as a general principle?
Which do you want to
says the same kind of thing.
speak to that letter?
Or equally, we could also just not treat it as an action item at all.
We could, but let's. Sorry, do you want to just speak briefly to your letter about the Safe Seward Highway?
Yeah, thanks. It's a draft letter. I was asked by some of the other legislators that are concerned about the Safer Seward Highway project, including Representative Bill Elam, who covers the area to the south up Turnagain Arm, as well as the legislators that then are affected by the Seward Highway work into town in the south end of Anchorage. Anyway, asked to help coordinate a letter that we would jointly sign. And it essentially raises the concerns that I think, have been just discussed here, that we all appreciate the need for a safer highway, but expresses concerns that, that this would lead to a faster, but not necessarily significantly safer highway, but really focuses a lot on the impact that it would have to the view shed and to the character of Turnagain Arm. The significant infrastructure that would result from this development when it was done is, I think viewed by many, and certainly I do, as something that would be harmful to access to the many communities, trails, and recreational opportunities and views that are along the highway, and would create a real barrier between the mountains, the communities, and the Turnagain Arm area, and the value that that has as a scenic area that we cherish for that area. I think, looking ahead, it is emphasizing the need to continue to look at projects that will improve safety, whether there are turnouts and perhaps extended areas for merging on and off, perhaps looking ahead towards vehicle technologies that are going to be increasingly found on vehicles in terms of, lane controls and separation distances. So I'd be happy to take any input. It was simply a draft as a way to get the discussion going, and I look forward to any feedback you have.
Thank you. So we as a board can decide to not make comments, or either draft something now or agree to sign up to somebody else's. What's the will of the body here?
It seems odd that we would say nothing. And I agree that everything I've heard is essentially aligned with the concerns we've heard through all the discussion, and maybe there is more alignment than I thought. I just feel like, I don't know, nobody's showing up here to say what they, yeah, which is kind of weird, right? It's such a big issue. It's like, shouldn't people be asking us to take a position? But I don't personally want to write it in this meeting, but I would support doing the whole 24-hour thing if, somebody on the body wants to take it and model it off of Representative Holland's letter, or generally represent what they believe we're hearing.
I don't know, I'm the one who kept bringing this up, and I kept, asking LUC and asking. I don't know that I'm hearing a general consensus, so I might vote on the side of caution that we just don't say anything besides our own personal feedback, and maybe if we all write in separately, that's more powerful anyway. But I don't know that I do feel comfortable, given that I haven't heard at LUC or here tonight from a handful of people. I don't know, a consensus that I can swear by. You know what I mean?
Actually, maybe we could open it up to members of the public who are here to.
Before we do that.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I would thank you everyone for your comments, and I agree with pretty much everything I heard, and I've listened to the public hearing. I have not seen Girdwood Inc.'s letter yet. Don't know where it is. But find it. And Kai Collins, I'm happy to read his draft. Everything we've talked about and I've heard is conflicting, and I'm fine with our letter reflecting the confliction we have heard as supervisors and representatives of our community. But everyone uses that highway, so it's important that they get more comments, because a lot of people are not commenting. So I agree with the fact that we could all write a letter before Friday, or we could send one from this board and have 2 volunteers write it. I'm happy with both, but I think it'd be a good gesture to write one.
I'm on the side of, I think we as a body probably should take the responsibility of trying to synthesize what we think the community has. I mean, that's our, we were elected to represent the community. So I think we should do that. And I think we should take on that responsibility and write a letter. Having said that, I don't really want to volunteer to write the letter myself. So just from a practical point of view, is anyone here prepared to draft something in the next 24 to 48 hours? Because if the answer is no, I think that answers our question.
Thank you for stating that, Chair, because I think a lot of us rely on you too much, and it's great that you're saying you don't have time to do it this week. And I was wondering if we would talk about it and make a motion, and that I wasn't very time heavy this week. But if we're basing it off of someone else's letter, I might be able to work with someone. But we'll see what Brian says, and then we need to come to a decision, but we also have 2 weeks.
It does sound like you were volunteering.
It did. I'm willing to help a little, but not right.
Okay. Just to finish it off, if Brianna was writing it, would anyone else be prepared to help write that?
I wouldn't be prepared to answer that until I hear from what people in the community are asking
Okay.
of us.
So, Representative Holland or Kai, depending on which hat you're wearing. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Just a brief comment, the comment request that's due this week is regarding the environmental assessment work that's been done. This is not the final project. It's not the final design. So we're not commenting at this point on a design. There's still lots to come. And I think a lot of the comments, can be kind of constrained to the question of, has this environmental assessment properly characterized the area and the concerns, and particularly the environmentally sensitive areas that are protected by federal law and that require special attention. So I guess I just want to kind of scope out both the letter I'm working on, but also, what you might be looking for feedback at this point. That we're not down to the point of a final design. This is really more, has the environmental assessment been complete, sufficient, and properly characterized the area and concerns?
Thank you. Michelle, I'll give you the opportunity to speak if you want to. I did see your hand up, but now back down again.
I took it down because I don't think I can adequately talk on environmental assessment comments, although I probably have the technical background to do it in a different life. But anyway, and I know that the project had reached out to us for comments, and I know also some local elected officials had reached out. So I have comments but they're more just response related, practical comments. So I can wait till the next comment period.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the board or the public who want to comment? Crystal.
I just wanted to comment that Girdwood Inc. has drafted the letter in regards to Safer Seward Highway, but it actually is specifically waiting on GBOS's decision tonight to finalize that letter. It was discussed that we don't want to be in opposition to what GBOS is saying, but basically the consensus on the Girdwood Inc. meeting was that we support safety improvements. As to what exactly those are, such as the 4-lane highway, we're not saying we support that in particular, and we're saying that we support alternatives to that as long as it would result in safer traveling. And, as a mom who is now driving this road 3 times a week, and my kids will eventually be driving it 5 times a week to go to high school, I have to say that I want it to be safer, and the curves specifically at Indian and Rainbow are stressful, especially when you can see the ice in front of you. Thanks.
Thank you. So we'll leave it again. What's the decision? What does the body want to do? We have a volunteer to write something.
I wonder, in light of Kai's perspective, though, because the Girdwood Inc. the letter isn't speaking to the environment, the adequacy of the environmental, and even anything that we have discussed here that we would say isn't anything related to environmental. And so I wonder if it is premature to try and comment on the scope of the project if the comment period is on the environmental, and our feedback is very much so on the scope of the project. And in some respects, it just lets Girdwood Inc. send the letter that they want, because it won't be in opposition to anything we do or don't say. But
If the way that Kai Holland said that's due on Friday, I do not feel comfortable writing a statement about the environmental process so far, because I've not read it.
yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at, is like, that's not the conversation we're having right now about the environmental. We're having a conversation about the larger project, which Now that you brought it up, that was, the whole meeting was, everything was about the environmental impact that was done, so.
Okay, the sense I'm getting is there's not a desire to write a response from GBOS. Does everyone agree with us? Maybe there's a desire, but there isn't a practical way we can do it.
I feel conflicted, but I don't think I can do it.
Okay. So unless anyone has an objection, I'm going to consider that that item. We are not going to send a comment for 227 as a body. Any disagreement with that? Okay, let's move on to item number 12, first quarter budget revision.
Yep. Sorry, this will be a bit of numbers here, but we'll get through it. So I just want to give you a synopsis of where we're at for 26. We're currently predicting our new mill rate, and this, I'm a little ahead of me here, so I'm gonna jump down. I want to talk about what we're proposing for revised budget for 26, and then also how that affects our mill rate based on the new assessment values that we have for the valley. One thing I'll point out is that for the first time ever, the Girdwood Valley Service Area valuation, assessment valuation has passed $1 billion. And what I am basing what we're hearing from the assessor's office at this point in time is that $1.052 billion, let's round up 53 million is the assessed value for the valley. I'm basing what we're going to talk tonight, our mill rate on is at $1.051 billion because there will be adjustments as people appeal their valuation for their properties. But I think it probably will be within that, 1 to 2 million range that could change, but I don't think it'll change much. But that's where we're at. So that increase definitely affects the space we have within our mill cap, with our mill cap being 6 mills. And so currently our projection for our mill right now is at 5.5 mills. As it is in the current budget. But with this new assessment coming in, if we were to stay where we are and not change our budget at all, our mill rate would drop to 5.1. So that increased valuation makes a big difference in our mill calculation and the space we have within it. What we're proposing for changes for this year is one part is corrections. The budgets that were approved by the assembly and submitted to Mayor in some cases were incorrect. And I tried to correct them as they were in the process, but I couldn't get them corrected. And I was told you need to correct them at first quarter revisions. And so we'll talk about that as we go through. But what you have here highlighted in yellow are changes for this year. And in particular with street maintenance. I am asking for an increase of 117,000 in operating, and we'll talk about that more. But that has mostly to do with material costs, the cost of sand, the cost of salt, and then also the increased costs with steaming. I am capturing in there for the special contract in there. And so we'll talk about that as we can go through the individuals. So that would increase our budget there. You'll see in the Housing and Economic Development Group, the board approved 40,000 for that. Well, the OMB office made a mistake and they added 40,000 to last year's budget, which took it up to 157,000. So I am correcting that by dropping that back down to 117,000. Back down to 40,000, which is 117,000 in savings there. So the numbers went the wrong direction there when they did that. So that was one of the corrections I saw there. In Parks and Rec, they also, some reason, underfunded our seasonal budget, seasonal positions. And we can get into details there. And then I am asking for additional 200,000 in capital contribution. One, to go help with the funding gap potentially for the bridge, and then two, to continue to build that savings for other capital projects going forward in that area. And mostly it's a precaution so that we have the money ready for the construction on the bridge there. So all in all, in total, we're looking at 214,000 as an increase from the current budget to first quarter revisions there. With the fire department, we'll also talk about a change there, but their budget will stay flat, but we are going to move some money around within the budget to help with their operating and also increase their contribution. So I'm going to slide down here. Before I do that, any questions here? We can come back.
Clarification, when we approved this budget, our mill rate was what?
When we approved it, it came in at 5.5 mils.
5.5, and
Yep.
then if we did no changes, it would have gone down to 5.1, and basically these changes bring it back to the 5.5.
Bring it back to 5.3. You can see
Oh,
right here.
sorry, that was looking in the wrong column.
Yep.
Okay.
So 5.3. So we're still below what we are right now.
Yep, no, I got it. I didn't realize that column was there.
Yeah.
Question on that.
And now these calculations are based on what I come up with, sometimes OMB, and for the most part, the way the record has always gone is my mill rate calculations always tend to be higher than what OMB ends up giving us
Okay.
in that aspect. Mike?
Yeah, partly, I think that might be on property, not personal property. Personal property adds a bit more and they don't get that until later in the year. So the question I have on this is you said there were some mistakes and I see the one with housing and economic development. What was the other mistake? I didn't catch that.
And Parks and Rec, they underfunded my seasonal positions.
Okay. So we approved.
You approved higher.
17,000.
And then when we get into it, you'll see I actually asking for a little bit more because I'm going off actuals from last year.
So that, at least that cell isn't really much different from what we originally approved.
No.
Got it.
No. So going down here, so let's start with fire. What we would like to do, and we may have some good news to report here, is that Engine 41 is paid off. Because for the last 3 years, we've been having this 104,000 sitting in the budget, waiting to make debt payments on the engine. And each year the engine's not done, so we can't take out a loan to start paying against the engine. Well, what happens is that money falls into our undesignated account where the debt was sitting for this engine. Because we prepaid these engines in advance, which isn't normal. Most of the time we do it, but we got a discount because they bought 6 engines, 5 of them going to AFD, 1 going to us, and it allowed for us to get a discount if we paid up front for the engine. And so as you can see here, that 104,000 has been dropping down every year. And then through other surpluses within our budgets, we cleared the debt. And what I'm getting this reconfirmed, but the way it looks like we cleared the debt on the engine and the engine's paid off now, which is a great deal for the service areas because we paid off the engine without ever actually paying any interest on the engine. So we basically got a 0% loan for it to be constructed. And then we were waiting for it to come out, thinking we were going to still have debt on it. And we essentially would have took a car loan on it, but now it looks like it's paid off. So what we like to do is take that 104,000 and consolidate it there. And right now I'm showing at 178,000, but in a quick discussion with Chief Weston, we want to move that 24,000 out of that 178,000 and put it up into staffing needs for the department. So that would raise their staffing labor costs by 24,000 up here. But then this would increase their contribution to capital. We've had that 74,000 at capital for a long time. And I think we need to increase that because the next apparatus coming up, it'd be nice to be ahead of it and not be in the same situation we just went through with Engine 41, where that sits against our undesignated account for several years. Because it's nice to have that undesignated account available for us when we do that. So this would be a change here. So what we do is we would decrease this by 24,000 and put that up into labor, and then the remaining amount would be there for a contribution to capital. That would not change the overall budget for this year. This budget would stay flat. So that's for fire. Any questions there?
Just the thing about IGCs is we still have in our budget that 227,900, and we're not expecting to spend anything close to that on shop this year. Correct? Is that right?
Yeah, but there will be some shop charges when they bring a new apparatus into service. They have to.
That much, or?
I can't tell you because I've never been provided the budget to actually.
We'll try not to make it happen.
The other thing was we don't know what's going to break down. So if something breaks down, we don't know what it's going to be. But yeah, that shop, we can all agree that shop charge is high.
Yeah.
But that's hopefully that will come off the books here in the next couple of years because we're replacing
budget point of view.
We're replacing these apparatuses and they're spending less time at the shop.
From an actual spending point of view, we're not expecting to spend that. So I'm just saying there's also.
I hope not.
No.
There's some capacity in that.
Yes.
No. And then with the budget, I managed to, we've had some personnel changeovers, so I managed to, I think I can free up 20,000 to match that 24,000. So that would mean from May 1st to the end of the year, we'd have a 4th firefighter on duty every day, 24/7. So you are getting some value for that.
If no questions there, I'll move on. Keep us moving. Okay, so here's the housing economic. You can see GBOS approved 40,000. Well, they added 40,000 to last year's 117,000. So we ended up with the 157,000 there. My proposal to the board is to decrease that back to what you approved, which would go back to $40,000. Make that correction. Any questions there? Okay. Here is Parks and Rec. So what I'm showing here is the board approved 49,900. So let's say $50,000 for labor for the Parks and Rec seasonal staff. These are the actual numbers from last year. And what I'm showing here with the numbers is with just a bit of increase, because we do have the 2 seasonal employees returning for their 3rd year with us, if everything goes right with hiring. So I'm showing this to be more accurate as to what we're doing in that range there. And so that would bring that up to 57,000. So that would be just $8,000 increase there to cover those expenses. And I think that was my only change. Oh, and then here I am asking to raise it from 300,000 to 500,000 for the contribution to help with the coverage for the bridge. And if we don't need all that funds, then it will go into the general Parks Capital Improvement Fund there, which would start saving towards the projects that will come out of the park plan. One thing we did raise, and it's very nominal, but I went through and looked at our revenue projections, and looking back on the last couple of years, we've raised the revenue projection to 7,000, just based off rentals of the park and things like that. So that brings down the revenue there a bit. So in total here, it would be a $214,000 increase for this budget, with a mill rate of 0.81 for this individual budget.
Any questions?
Is that the whole thing? Can I ask a comprehensive question then?
I have one more.
Okay.
Yep.
That's fine.
One more budget, or 2 more, but these are actually, because police is not changing, and then that's actually it. And then here, what I'm asking for is additional funding to cover the steam thawing, street light maintenance, and catch basin cleaning. We've seen, especially the streetlight maintenance and catch basin cleaning, and then in addition to the steam thaw, we've seen all these expenses go up over the last 3 years. And I've been riding close, if not over, on it. And that additional steam thawing I'm really worried about the spring and what it's going to bring. So we're trying to keep the 2 contracts running so that we can keep up with our needs there. And then I'm asking for $20,000 more because the cost for road supplies like sand, culverts, and wrap have just increased. What really is killing us is the trucking. Trucking has really gone up over the last couple of years post-COVID, and so we're actually going over budget every year now trying to buy sand. And the other aspect too is the last 2 winters, and I'm hoping this isn't a trend, but the last 2 winters we start the season usually with about 1,400 to 1,500 tons of sand, and we are ripping through it because it's these rain events and these ice events. We've had to resupply. This year we had to bring in an additional 300 ton just to make sure that we weren't going to run out by end of season. So asking for a little bit more there. And then I didn't have a change down here for match. And so the total change on this one would be 117,000 there. But that kind of washes out because we're saving that difference from between the 2 with the housing and economic budget. So the total mill rate there would be 1.79. And we did increase the revenue projections. This is all room rentals. This budget catches revenue for this room rental here to 5,800. $10 an hour. Now we're up to $20 an hour. So it's going to be, we hope we'll pass that projection. So that is that. And I have some other stuff in here related to capital projects. I just wanted to have this in here if you had any questions. This is stuff we went through in November, but I can go back up to the summary and then take any questions over any of these budget numbers. Here we go.
I think I'll start with you, Jen, and then.
Okay, I just, I was just wondering, like, and maybe I'm missing it on this chart. It's late, my eyes are blurring, but the 5.3 mill rate, does that, or 5.37, where does that put us historically?
Oh, good question. So if we go back up here to this here, you can see our historical rates going through here. And I show the 5.37 right here is the estimated for 26. So it actually puts us on closer to the lower end post lease services incorporation, because pre 2016 we had no police, and so now this is the new era here from 16 on. So the last 10 years.
And I ask one quick follow-up. Just could you just please remind me about the where cap is?
6.
Okay, great.
Yep. So we're in a very good position from the service area. We were very concerned about hitting near, but with new construction and new valuations on the valley, it has allowed for more space within the cap. And we're still trying to hold that. My goal has always been, ever since I've been here, to leave a $0.5 mil cap always unoccupied. Whereas a lot of the service areas go right to their mill rates. I've never been comfortable with that because from an emergency aspect, I feel like we should always have that flexibility.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you.
The cap was set before when we had far fewer services. We had at least 2 or 3 fewer services to do now.
Correct. And so we've been in that 6 mil rate, and
because the valuation has increased so much and there's been so much construction.
That's correct.
Too.
Brianna, you had a question.
The comment, thank you very much for this thorough description, Kyle, and all of your work on this. And it spreads it out really nicely, I think, and makes up for those mistakes that weren't yours. Girdwood's, it's on old business. So are we moving this tonight then?
If the board would be ready, we would accept moving it tonight.
So I had a question related to that. How do we make sure those same mistakes don't happen again in the, is it just, all of us need to look carefully at every number?
Yeah, well, I need to really track it coming out and then sort of make the point with OMB that these are mistakes that we caught from previous, and then make sure that it's getting through. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I will definitely do my part as well.
Okay.
Pay careful attention. Comment from Crystal, and then I think maybe we can make a motion.
A clarification in regards to the Girdwood Housing and Economic budget. Can you just clarify how much is available for spending? I see negative 117, and I just want to make sure that those previous years we're not losing out on those funds that had been allocated in previous years.
So those previous years have fallen into the undesignated account, and I should share that with the board right now because, and this will probably be refined as we go, but I think I had an undesignated.
I think it's the last one.
Yeah. So this is our undesignated report at this point in time, and this is after the 24 audit. So we have right now almost 750,000 in our undesignated account available. And so committed are 316, so our total is $1 million right now. So those funds have kind of landed down there.
To partially answer Crystal's question, the way I think about this is we as a board committed to allocating money to certain projects in certain areas, and if priorities changed. And we didn't spend it in a given year, we've still kind of made that general commitment. While it's not technically true that money sits in a particular account, I think there's at least our intent was to spend it on that area. So I don't think it's out of the question that the 117 or so that didn't get spent last year can be pushed into a project this year.
we probably would do is go through a assembly approval process to have money. We would request from the board to have the money moved out of undesignated towards a project that may be approved by GBOS that's recommended by GEC.
We have something coming up.
Yep, and then to move that direction, and then because it'd be a capital project most likely that we would do, so we would probably put it in that area.
How would you like the motion structured? Is it the total for each of the different areas?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do that one at a time then. Right.
And you also have a decrease for one area.
Yeah. So if you want to start with the first one.
Or we'd be looking for a motion to increase street maintenance by $117,200 in first quarter revisions.
Right. I'm wondering if it's better to state it as the total in the first quarter budget revision.
Oh, total budget?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we would be looking to increase the budget by $117,200 for a total budget of $1,883,094.
I so moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? I don't see any. Brian, I just want to give you the opportunity because I saw you drop briefly. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. No questions for me.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion in front of us. Can we do this by assent or do you want a roll call?
Your assent.
Assent. Any objection to the motion? Not hearing any, that motion passes. Fire.
At Fire, we would like to consolidate the debt for the, I'm going to go down to it so I can look at it. We like to consolidate the Engine 41 capital loan payments into the Girdwood capital account for, let me do the math real quick. I'm sorry. Get that.
Not that verbal.
Yes, do we need to make, can we just make a motion for the total?
Yes, we can make a motion to the total to.
So the total is no change.
Total is no change. Consolidate the engine loan payment into the capital contribution, and then 24,000 of that goes up into their labor budget.
Okay, thank you. Second, any discussions?
Just wanted to mention just wonderful work by the service area by Kyle Kelly and by the board in having a fully paid engine coming to the department for the first engine coming from since 26 years, coming in fully paid, no bond debt. Amazing. Super good job.
Can we get a cake about it?
Yes, we will get a cake.
And it's only 4 years late, or 5 years later.
I just want to make sure we get.
Just as long as we get cake.
We will get the cake.
An engine shake cake. Okay, any objection? Not hearing any. So that motion is passed.
Okay. For housing and economic development, we are requesting that the budget be decreased by $117,600 back to the originally approved $40,000 by GBOS to fix that correction.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objection?
I propose an extension of this meeting by, I motion to extend this meeting by 10 minutes.
I'll second.
Any objection to that? Or any discussion, I should say? Any objection? None, passed. We're going on for 10 more minutes until 10 past 10.
So we have a motion and a second and no.
We have a seconded motion for new total of 40,000 for housing and economic development. Any objection to that motion? Not seeing any, that motion passes. Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Recreation, we request a motion to increase the operating budget by $17,378 and the contribution to capital by $200,000 for a total increase of $214,878, which brings the new budget to $849,280.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion seconded. Any discussion? Not hearing any objection? Not hearing any. Motion is passed.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Great work.
Thank you, Kyle.
Again, I think we still have a future discussion for whether we take a different approach to capital in the longer term, but that's not for today. Yeah. GBOS rules and procedures, work session schedule. I think we can bring the topic up now, but I think we can actually do the scheduling offline. Unless there's anything anybody wants to say about this now.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I just really wanted to acknowledge the work that you and Brianna have already done on this. And the reason I brought it up and wanted to make sure that we consider scheduling something is I didn't want to lose all that institutional knowledge and the work that you guys have done. So I just really don't want that to slip out since neither one of you filed for reflection. So I just want to acknowledge, one, the work you've done, and two, frankly, hoping to capitalize on it.
Okay, so we'll try and schedule something in March.
Yes, thank
or
you.
April. Yeah, early April. Okay, we're on to new business. GHCC recommendation for GBS support for RFP for housing action and implementation plan, not to exceed 100,000. We have I don't think is it in the electronic packet?
No.
Okay. We can circulate that. We will discuss it. We'll have it for next month. There is a draft RFP available for a housing action and implementation plan, which actually includes, it goes a little bit further than many other implementation plans, and it includes some pro formas for particular projects. So it goes even further, partly because some of the earlier analysis was already done as part of the comprehensive plan. So we're capitalizing on the work that was done in the comprehensive plan and pushing this towards basically costing out, looking at funding for specific projects. Details available next month, or details are available now, but we will vote on it next month, hopefully. Item 15, recycling task force. You'd like to take that, Jennifer?
The recycling task force is under construction and going to be great, and we'll talk about it later.
I like the title.
I want to give Rochelle the opportunity, since she's stayed on this late. Is there anything you want to add or just talk about on the recycling side? Although our discussion will be next month.
I will be here for discussion next month as well. And in the meantime, it is in the works, like previously stated. And if anyone has any comments, questions, burning thoughts, desires, my email inbox is always open and ready to receive feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope you enjoyed your salad. Item 16, consider parliamentary training session in May.
Can I address that real quick?
Yeah.
All right, so we have three options, ones that we've done before. We did the Robert's Rules of Training, we did effective board meetings, and then there's also ethics training. And I thought that the ethics training that both Mike and I attended recently at FCC were really amazing. So I am working on getting numbers. I just wanted to float the idea and also get people thinking about it. But I think that, again, we're going to have such a new board in May that there would be an argument for having this set up. And in particular, I don't want to lose a window of opportunity where we just start heading into the summer and without taking that if possible. So if anyone has any comments about it, if they would please reach out to me, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. Any comments now?
Or say now.
I think it's a good idea to do.
Yep, agree. And finally, hopefully, 17, GTC request for resolution of support for the Anchorage Park Foundation grant application.
Yep. So we'll be coming back next month asking for presenting a resolution of support for a grant we're writing for new interpretive display for the suspension bridge.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Good of the order?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
We're not going to do a roll call vote. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody online.